Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 182. We're starting off with, we got a couple of special guests actually with me. If you guys are listening on just the audio, make sure you check us out Wednesdays around 7:30, typically around 7:45, realistically, once we're all settled in on Facebook Live and YouTube Live as well. I want to thank our sponsors right out of the rip here. Patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. You guys have been a huge support. And I am talking to that t-shirt company this week. Actually, they finally emailed me back, and hopefully we'll be getting those t-shirts going again. I know we've been talking about it for several months, but can't wait to get them going. Might do by time of St. Patty's Day. We'll have a green one. Maybe that'll be the first round. Hopefully not. Hopefully sooner. But yeah, guys, thank you very much. It's a $5 tier, a $10 tier, and a $25 tier if you guys want to support the show. And we're going to get some more raffle prizes as well from our sponsors, which those sponsors are Tinderbox at Easton, Columbus, Ohio. They are providing tonight the Espinosa Murcielago, which we're going to talk about. And we have a special guest on the show with us that knows a little bit about that cigar and that company. And also Altadis USA. And Josh Bentley, we have the Aging Room Nicaragua.
There's a raffle prize for you.
Oh, we have a raffle prize for the Patreon. So if you guys are on the Patreon page between part 1 and part 2, we've got a limited edition.
We made 250 of them.
So that's limited. Yeah. 250. I can't get it. I don't need an adult. Not you. It's going to be a Lotus cutter.
Lotus Meteor cutter.
Yeah. Fantastic. Retail value of $59.95. So we'll have that out there for you guys between part 1 and part 2. Fantastic. So get on patreon.com/Bourbon BS podcast. But also Altadis USA, like I said, we have the Aging Room Nicaragua, which was an AJ Fernandez blend. We'll get into how that kind of relates to the Murcielago as well. And then also BS Cigar Company, happy to announce that the BS Gold is back in stock. It's already flying off the shelf. BS Silver, which is also made by Espinosa Cigars. There's a lot of tie-ins here tonight. But yeah, BS Silver and BS Gold are all available through Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. So make sure you guys go and check them out. Got a special guest right here in the middle of your screen. Karen.
What's
Or
up?
should we call you Raven?
I mean, I guess you can call me either right now. That's fine.
Okay.
Raven's not solidified though, so we can stay with Karen for right now.
Stick with Karen. And it's Zajac.
No.
How do you say it?
Zajac.
Zajac. No.
Z-
I thought they were talking to me. Say, Jack.
Say Jack.
What's up, Jack? Zajac.
So Karen is joining us tonight, and we have some exciting news. She is finishing up her first novel.
Yes.
And we're going to really focus on that in part 2 tonight, which is making your dreams into reality. So I'm looking forward to that and learning a bit about this. What type of novel is this?
I'm not allowed to label it as erotica because I'll get in trouble, so we'll just go with romance.
Romance.
It's romance.
Not PG-13 romance.
NC-17.
Ooh, nice. Is that still a rating?
I don't know. Oh.
TVMA? I don't know what we do anymore. I don't know. It's tough to say.
Tyler is not allowed to read it.
No. How old are you, Tyler?
24.
Oh, perfect. Just made it.
Barely.
Just made it. I am passing down the featured bottle tonight. It is the George Dickel
Dick.
Bourbon. This is a new product we're going to talk about a little bit from George Dickel. You say it every time I say that?
No, just
All
every
right.
once in a while.
Cool. Cool.
See why you chose it for tonight.
Yep. So this is a new product, 8-year bourbon. It is something that I'm really interested to try. Everything I've read up on it, all the reviews were basically from the summer. So this is a very new bottle. Yeah, go ahead, Nate. And but before we do that, I do want to, I guess, feature the cigar. Got Jack Torano on. This is the Espinosa Murcielago. We're going to be reviewing this. The way this show works is we basically kind of talk about the cigar and the whiskey in the first part, and then we'll go ahead and rate those at the end of part 1, and then we'll get into part 2. So,
Sounds good.
Jack, what's your role with
National
Espinosa?
Sales Director.
National Sales Director.
Tyler's boss.
Card bar.
That's what it says on my card.
Card bar. That seems right.
I spend my year Well, this year's been better than last year, but I spent my year traveling around and working with all our great reps. And,
yes, you've been back on the road for some time.
Back on the road since I think my first trip back on the road was end of January or February.
Nice.
Of all places, Chicago during a storm, winter storm. But we had a good time.
Welcome you back there.
That's where I learned Tyler doesn't know how to drive.
Oh, not well, huh? Tyler Jones, he's talking about, who has been on the show several times. He's in the studio audience tonight. Karen, you've had, as we lighten this up, you've had the Murcielago before, correct?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
It's good.
It's good.
It's good.
It's good.
It's good.
There's your review. All right, cool. Skipping to part two. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys after the intermission. Jack, tell us a little about.
Is there an intermission?
Yeah, we stay live.
like a
That's why I'll
play.
do that. I mean,
Oh, nice.
yeah. I mean,
We're
if
just-
you need to use the restroom.
So Murcielago.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it like that. I can't.
Murcielago, one of our core line, it's one of the core lines of Espinosa. Kind of, it's had a few different versions. It used to be the red label.
This is the third.
Third.
This is the third version. Originally,
third
it was
version.
EO, right?
Yes.
And was it all San Andreas? I
It,
believe
it wasn't all San Andreas.
Right, but it had a San Andreas, and I thought there was also some more Mexican tobacco in.
There might have been.
Yeah.
That predates me with Espinosa.
Right, and then Hector and
it was the second blend. I don't know how much Hector had to do with the second blending, but this last one is true to the original blend,
Right.
from what I understand. And again, it's one of our best sellers. So
So, story I heard, and I thought it was from Eric, but it was kind of like they were happy with the red band, the second one, but they couldn't get enough age on the wrapper leaf. They couldn't get enough of that wrapper leaf with enough age on it. He's having a conversation with AJ Fernandez, and I'm assuming they were talking about, so basically all the 601s from Espinosa,
yes,
and a couple others.
And a
they're
couple
all
others.
made by now AJ Fernandez. They're
AJ's
all-
new factory in Ocotal.
Yeah.
Ocotal is a little bit. It's about an hour. It's an hour and a half north of Esteli, or 45 minutes if you drive with AJ. And yeah, that was part of sourcing and procuring the right tobacco for our blends is very important,
right.
and the consistency is very important. And nobody has better tobacco than AJ. And AJ's Placencia's right up there, but AJ
Right.
as a source of tobacco is incredible. And once AJ made that offer to make our 601 lineup along with Murcielago and a couple of our other new releases,
Right.
In exchange for Eric basically having the keys to the kingdom,
Right.
and getting that pick, it was a no-brainer for
Yeah.
Eric to go into business with AJ and
Well, and you
at the
guys have
San
gotten
Lozano
so
factory.
like you've grown almost faster than you could do anything out of the Lazona factory, correct?
Well,
I
without
mean,
a doubt.
yeah. So I
Without a
mean,
doubt.
that's kind of the natural progression, and they had a relationship, and that's what I remember the story on this one is that the obstacle was getting enough of that wrapper leaf.
Yeah.
And AJ's like, I got a ton of that shit, man.
I got a boatload of
Yeah,
it.
I got all you need. I mean, I can
Yeah.
sell it for you. I can make it for you.
Yeah.
And so it's all your guys' blends, but it makes sense because he's able to pump out to hit your demands. And even now, I mean, you guys can't. I mean, just like every other company out there, you can't meet the demands right now
Right now we can't. We're
based
trying
on COVID
hard.
shutdowns, based on everything else slowing
Box
down.
factories.
Box factory. We talked about that today in the shop.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't realize that, a lot of the slow ups on this may not be the tobacco, may not be the rolling, may not be the actual finished product, but it's something like hinges on the boxes or like paint for certain things.
We had 5 new releases at the show.
Mhm.
One of them was released immediately at the show, the 601 Black,
Mhm.
and the other 4, Sarsaparillo's already come out.
just got
the
that in at the
collaboration.
tinderbox today.
But the other 3 were scheduled for mid to late August, and now they've been pushed back to the first week of September, and we're hoping for that. Azulejo and Se Provincia and what's the other one? What am I missing? Warhead 7. That's why he's here.
Yeah. Good teamwork. Good teamwork.
So yeah, and the cigars are ready. It's the boxes that are causing the delays.
Really.
Mm.
Murcielago's not on back order though, right?
No, we
So
are
you should be able to
fully
find
flush on that. So
And this one's called the Rabito size.
yes,
And what's the significance to Rabito? Do we know this? Is this
it's got
just something that happens?
It's got a little rabito tail at the end,
Okay.
like a little pigtail.
Yeah.
648.
It's a 6.5.
646.
The Murcielago, Tyler and I were talking about this. This is a 6.5 by 46, right? But all the other Rabito sizes, including the BS Silver, is a 6x46. Is that right? It's interesting. This was the original Rabito, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, to everyone, 6.5 inches by 46 ring gauge. So it's a thinner cigar. This one, I think, I mean, what do you think of it, Karen? You like this cigar?
I do. I mean, other than I like the fact that there's a bat on it.
There is a
which
bat
I
on
do
it.
want to know why. Like, is there a story behind the bat?
Well, bat is Murcielago.
That's what. Okay. See, I didn't know. I don't know anything about Spanish. But see, it's cool. It reminds me of Dracula. I'm
This one
not
was
well
special.
versed
So you like
in
bats?
cigar language.
Bats got a bad rap in the last year. But
Was that a bad joke to
canceled
make?
that theory.
okay. Pangolins, I don't know, something.
I mean, I think it's good. It's got a really good bolder flavor, I would say.
Yeah.
Which is what I like. So I'm probably really biased in that way. But I mean, I think it smokes good. But
Yeah, it definitely sits more medium palate. I mean, it is a more robust cigar for us. So
but that's what I like. So again, I'm biased.
There we go.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
nice.
Well, you know, bats, vampires.
Movie
buffers,
or the TV series?
Movie.
The movie.
I had a
Christy
mad-
Swanson.
Oh my
Was it
God.
Christy
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 Swanson.
Swanson.
Christy
Yeah.
Swanson.
I was
She
telling
was
Tyler.
So much-
foxy. Man.
She was
foxy.
I mean,
Oh my God.
I was of the age that I may have had a crush.
May.
I
definitely had a
I may
crush.
or may not have purchased the Playboy she was in.
And
you
that's
go.
why they
That's
watched
also
the
good.
show was because she was in it. Otherwise, I don't know
Luke
many men.
Perry, great actor.
Have you ever,
as well.
have you ever seen the football movie, The Program?
Yes,
She's in that.
she is in that.
Yeah,
That's a
with
great
black
movie
hair.
for
Oh my
many
God.
reasons.
And she's in The Chase.
She had an illustrious career. That was with Charlie Sheen.
Charlie
also
Sheen,
a hot
yeah.
scene in the BMW.
Yeah.
No, that was Alicia Cuthbert or whatever. Any other questions? on
Yeah,
the
we're taking
girls'
questions.
movies? Any other? No. If you have a question on the feed, if you're watching on online, go ahead.
Oh,
There
sorry.
we go. It's your first time, man. Everyone
I
gets
thought you wanted me
excited
to
on the
take
first
questions.
time.
I
It
didn't know what was
happens.
happening.
It happens, man. So yeah, this is San Andreas wrapper on this Murcielago, and still can't say it. I'm not gonna try.
Murcielago. It's easy.
Is it?
So wait, say it slower.
Murcielago.
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 It's like a roller coaster
Cielago.
a little bit.
Murcielago.
Yeah, there you go. Murcielago.
Murcielago. No, I tried.
All right, you're good.
You're good.
Don't try anymore.
Murcielago. Mercy,
She
the
doesn't-
bat
he's like,
cigar.
yeah, you're good. I'm trying. And he's
Can
like,
I
"You
get the
sound
bat
dumb."
cigar, please? The one
Like
with the
Eric
bat
says,
on
if you buy
it.
it, you can call it what you want.
That's right.
I will buy it.
That's right. So yeah, San Andreas wrapper over Nicaraguan tobacco, correct? Jack,
I'm sorry.
San Andreas over Nicaraguan tobacco.
I didn't know we were still on.
We're still on. You know,
You said we were buffering. I didn't know what
we were
happened.
buffering a while back. We were buffering a while.
Yeah,
back.
you know, most of our blends carry that Nicaraguan
Right.
from Condega and Jalapa and the different regions of Nicaragua.
Right.
Eric doesn't really disclose the actual blends.
Mhm.
He thinks he's Colonel Sanders
Colonel Sanders
and
secrets.
doesn't give away the secrets.
Right.
So it's funny because when I came from the Torano days where we almost were giving you the percentages of tobacco that were in there.
Right.
You could have recreated it yourself. To a company I worked for with Miguel. It's back to General, who is, they're not as loose as Torano was with the blends, to Eric, which is, here's the wrapper,
Yeah.
and then Nicaragua. And there's a lot more to it than those things.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. I will say, working with Eric and Hector on the BS Silver project, they are fantastic because they do have full disclosure.
Yes.
And I think that
With
stems
you,
from
yes.
yeah, exactly. On
Yes,
our project,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Which I think stems from what I understand is they don't want to hide it from someone they're working with on
No,
their own
absolutely
blend.
not. Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of something that, not to bring up dirty laundry, but I mean, that was something that Eric got burned when EO split. and he eventually went out on his own. And when I was down at your guys' warehouse a few years back, that was something that they talked about, is they literally had to dissect cigars that they found of the 601s and of some other cigars. They literally were cutting it apart and trying to recreate the blends, because they basically, with their name on it, with Eric's name on it, they knew kind of that it was a San Andres wrapper with Nicaragua, and it's coming out of a certain factory. I don't want to say where, but they had kind of these allegiances that they wouldn't disclose exactly what it was, but they had the marketing rights. Eric did. Yeah. So I like that about Eric, and I'll tell everyone out there, if you haven't met him yet, hopefully if you're in the Columbus area, you come to the Smoking 10 event, we'll hopefully get him back. Maybe if you're able to come as well and you're not somewhere else, Jack, have you out there in March if we can get it off the ground.
I'd love
need to talk
one
to
of
Tyler.
my favorite events.
It's a fun one. It's definitely a fun one. And hopefully we can get Eric in town here before the end of fall. I need to talk to Tyler about that. So at Tinderbox at Easton, one of our sponsors, we typically do a prime rib dinner. And so hopefully we can get him out here in October, possibly for that. So I'll talk to him. Tyler, I'll just talk to him. Don't worry about it. If you want to be there, you can come too. I'll see if Eric can come. You'd love to be invited. So, Jack, you've been with Espinosa Cigars for how long now?
Closing in on 3 years. January 2nd will be 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's, and back when the Torano days, I thought this is going to be it. Then I went on to Duran. Then I went back to General and Torano. Listen, I have found a role.
Yeah.
They've been different roles. I found a role because I love this industry. But if you look at all the companies I've been with in the last 10 years, it usually lasts about 3 years. So I'm a little nervous.
Oh, all right. Fingers crossed, everyone out there.
So I hope to be around in March for your event.
Jesus Christ. We do too.
No, I feel
with Espinosa
I
Cigars.
feel great. I mean, this company is growing in a great way, and having Eric leading the way. That dude knows how to work a room.
He really does.
Eric is one of the most charismatic guys that I know that can truly. Everybody feels like they're his friend when he does an event. Everybody in that room, he touches everyone.
Yeah, he's very memorable in a very positive way. And then, say the event like the Smoking 10 event in Columbus, Ohio, typically every March, he's made an impression. Yeah. Typically his sample packs sell out quickly. You guys have done as a company some fun T-shirts with us. The may or may not have been licensed OSU themed one-off. Allegedly. We don't know where they came from, but there's about 50 of them out there. And it says Lozona State of Mind instead of State on there. If you've ever seen that one. And then also because his first event was Smoking 10 Event 2, and it was a high of about 29 degrees with 25-mile-an-hour winds. The next year, he made a shirt that says, "I froze my Buckeyes off at the Smoking 10 event." And needless to say, they sold out very, very quickly. So he's always great. One time, we were telling you today, Jack, that when I was out front getting ready to start the Q&A, Eric started, because I left the microphones on, he started singing Sweet Caroline in front of everyone, and I heard it from the outside the tent. So he definitely can command a room, as you call it.
Yeah.
Or steal the show, as I call it.
Well, that's the story I told you when I was with General and I did the 10 event. We at some point we all get up on stage and they ask questions, and for the most part the stories we're telling are boring.
To you, but not to the people in the audience.
They look pretty bored too. Anyways, and
they didn't drink
and then
enough
Eric,
yet.
It comes up to Eric's turn, and Eric stands up and he starts with the OH, and the entire 400 people are like, "I-O!" And he had the crowd roaring in about 10 seconds, and we're all sitting there like,
you can light it
this
up.
is over. It's over for us.
They're not going to listen to us anymore. We're done here. But yeah, so fantastic cigar, fantastic company. So, and Jack, appreciate you being here. Have you guys taken a sip of the whiskey yet?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't know I was allowed to.
I didn't either.
I was like trying to be patient.
I didn't either. I smelled it.
Smelled it? What do you think? So this is a new product. This is George Dickel bourbon whiskey, aged 8 years. A little different from what they've had out there as far as their 8 and 12, which we have done before. Those are not age statements on those, but those are going to be their kind of everydayers. They got a rye out there. They've done a bottled and bond. They've done an orphan barrel. I think a couple other things. I didn't want to talk about the Tabasco barrel finish. It did.
Was it bad or was it oddly good?
I actually never had it because I don't like Tabasco. The regular Tabasco.
Do you have some there?
No, so their Tabasco barrel finish. It's at the Last Call store here in Columbus, and there's probably close to 100 bottles on the shelf because it was apparently a really bad marketing idea because no one bought it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they take their
Fireball. It is not.
They take their regular whiskey and finish it in Tabasco barrels, the official Tabasco. Yeah.
But see, you could
They
do
linked up
some
with
really
that.
cool stuff with that.
Cocktail wise. Right?
Yeah, cocktail wise, you could do
Cocktail
some
wise
really
you
cool
could,
stuff with
but
that.
I have seen those bottles sitting on the same shelf.
It's at last call. I'm gonna write that down.
Sawmill and Bethel.
Okay,
The
I'm
Giant
writing
Eagle
that
corner
down.
of Sawmill and Bethel for those.
I'm gonna do something with that. You
You
wait.
need a Sharpie?
But yeah, they.
Sharpie.
Can I have a Sharpie, please?
I posted a picture of it a couple weeks ago when I was there because, like I said, there's almost 100 bottles of it, and it's just sitting there. And Andemic, who's been on the podcast
With Watershed.
she goes, I would love to have been a fly on the wall during that marketing meeting.
I don't think it would have made it. I do not think that Ann would have been a part of that.
No, she wanted to be a fly on the wall and
just to
listen
see how
to,
this
just
conversation
listen to
happened.
what like who
Some
thought-
guy in there is like, no, hear me out, guys.
She goes, who thought this was a good idea?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah, bear with me here.
I just think there's so much that you could do with that, though.
So for those that don't know, Karen is also a bartender, bar manager. She has experience, making a lot of cocktails, some fantastic ones. I've been fortunate enough to try some of them, including a killer one over at Royale on Friday night. She had a new. Can I say what it was?
Yeah.
Or no.
Do you remember what it was?
It was I had two cocktails. It was a
Oh
molasses.
no, I was saying, do you
old-fashioned.
remember what was in it?
It was a molasses old fashioned, right?
Yes.
So I know it had molasses.
So it had a molasses.
Go
Oh
ahead.
my gosh. Look at all of. Okay, so I'm gonna buy all of that. He's showing me a picture
What do you mean
of the
100?
entire
It looks like
wall
there's
More
a
than
of this
1,000.
Tabasco.
Yeah.
Of this Tabasco, and I'm gonna buy it. But so it's a molasses simple syrup, and then it's mixed with some bitters and Luxardo cherry syrup itself, like from the Luxardo can.
So not the actual cherries,
Not-
you just use the syrup.
Correct,
Yeah.
just the syrup, and then there's also Luxardo liqueur, so do not get confused between the
Okay.
two. And then I use rye bourbon because I think rye
And
whiskey.
you
I think it's
used
better.
a killer rye bourbon.
I did. I used Angel's Envy rye.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
Like I want to make a good cocktail. I'm going to make a good cocktail.
It really was a bit richer because of that molasses,
Mhm.
as opposed to just using like sugar.
Right. And it
Right.
adds a different flavor to it that I think really complements a lot of, bourbons and a lot of cigars, which is also, what we're doing.
It is. But this one here, so this is interesting with this George Dickel whiskey. So Cascade Hollow Distillery is where it's coming out of, and this is where a lot of their products are coming out of. It's really neat because when I was looking into this, I guess I haven't really looked into George Dickel a whole lot recently, other than when we did the podcast, and it's been a long time ago when we did the 8 and 12. We had Logan. Oh, well, and I think Logan Manning was the guest on that one. But so this one, typically it's going to be the Tennessee whiskeys from George Dickel, but this is the first one that they feel like they could put a true bourbon name on. And so this is their GM and master distiller. I'm going to look this up so I don't mess it up. Nicole Austin. So since she's been a part of Cascade Hollows and doing this with the Dickel bourbon, she's done a lot of stuff where they're taking some, I guess, different barrels and creating these different age statements and different projects. And again, this is all over at aged 8 years, even though it does say that it's distilled and produced by Cascade Hollow Distilling in Tennessee. This one, compared to, say, their normal George Dickel 8 and 12, where there are 80 proof, this is going to be coming in at 90 proof. So it's 45% alcohol per volume. It says on there, handcrafted small batch. And George Dickel's obviously got a great history there, established in 1870. What do you guys think of this? Taking a sip. Have you taken a sip yet?
I've taken a
I've
couple
taken
sips.
A couple of sips.
I need to take
Okay.
my third though.
Now I'm
You know,
getting a
it's
little
supposed to be 3.
smokiness out of it.
Yeah.
Are you
Is
sure that's
that
not the
this?
cigar?
Or,
It could be.
but I'm not a big bourbon guy.
Okay.
But this is to me very smooth, very nice.
I would agree with the smoothness of it.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of heat. There's not a lot of bite.
No.
Especially now, I will say, when you have something like this, I think with a fuller bodied cigar, we've already kind of, I don't want to say numbed our palate to a point, but I mean, this is a rich cigar. This has got a lot of that flavor in there that will kind of, like you say, smokiness that might be on your palate still, because I'm
Yeah.
getting more on this one. a little bit of sweetness from it. The
It definitely pairs well with the cigar.
Oh, for sure.
I agree,
Yeah.
and it stands up to it, which I was not sure of. The mash bill on this is very corn heavy. This is 84% corn.
Ooh.
What
80
is the price point of that bottle?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
84% corn, 8% rye, and 8% malted barley. So with it having that high of a corn percentage, I think it's the 8 years that really kind of mellows it out. Because I mean, if you guys have listened to the podcast before, I know when Nate and I are talking about some of those really high corn recipes, it's just kind of like that corn water. It's I don't care for it very much at all, and this does not have it. Have you tried this at all, Ryan?
No.
Is anyone else trying this in the garage? Nate, does anyone else want to? You got your pounder at Miller Lite. That's good. Sean's good with his $12 beer.
$20 bill.
$20 beer.
$20.
All right, $20.
It's a pounder.
It is a pounder.
No, that
Yeah.
was 12 last night at Green Day.
No, there was the short ones that were 12.
Well, this is a private
No,
venue.
he got
so.
a. Yeah, he got a pounder.
Oh,
Jealous.
one to the
No.
right.
Oh, you guys were feeling? No, we were in the stands, so yeah.
Hey, you got to pay extra for that in the stands.
I know. It was bad, man. It was bad.
Which show were you guys at? The
Green
was-
Day.
it was
called,
Weezer.
though?
It
What
was-
it called?
Oh gosh. Hella Mega Tour.
Hella Mega Tour.
It was awesome, by the way.
Was it Hella Mega Cool?
It was hella
was-
mega cool.
It
That's
was.
right.
It
It was
That's just a
Weezer.
clever name.
So, not to dog on any of the bands, but I was surprised that Weezer opened. Weezer opened, and then it was
That's what
Fall Out
Jack was
Boy,
saying,
and
yeah.
then it was
Well,
Green
I
Day.
said it for a different reason.
Yeah.
See, I know Weezer has a lot of hits. I'm not a big Weezer fan.
Yeah.
And
Really?
they seem like a kids band to me.
what?
Yeah.
Did you see their entire set yesterday?
I did.
What you still thought they were a
You
kids
said
band?
you walked
Well,
in
they-
as they were
they-
finished.
So,
Well,
I went
we
to-
walked in on song 3, but when they
Okay.
started, we were at the ticket window, so
Got
we
it,
heard
okay.
the whole thing. And they played Africa by Toto, and they played
Which is a
some of their
newer one from them.
covers.
Yes, and they
They
so
do
they
Island
had
in the Sun.
they
I
had
love
an
that song.
entire album which was covers,
Yeah.
and it's their Teal album, and I thought it was really good. I mean, they pay really good homage to all of those original bands. The first time I saw Weezer, it was the only time I've ever won anything, and I won tickets off of WNCI, and I'd never
What caller were you?
caller 12.
Nice.
Yeah. And I won tickets to go see Weezer and the Pixies. So like naturally
Ooh.
I'm gonna go. And it was an amazing show.
The Pixies headlined.
No, Weezer did.
Weezer
I don't think the
Yeah.
Pixies headlined that one.
The Pixies were kind of like they're getting up there, but they still put on a good show.
I think the Blue album was really one of the pivotal ones for them, right?
I mean,
Weezer.
listen, I get
Weezer,
it.
yeah.
You
Not
could
Pixies.
argue that
I was
Weezer and Fall Out Boy,
I think they could have switched.
they could have switched.
I think it's
But
an
I've
age
also,
thing,
like-
honestly.
But to me, Fall Out Boy's set was better than Weezer's
But
set.
do you want to know why? It's because that every single band that was there agreed to play songs from the same era, so they would attract the same crowd. Fall Out Boy played
Oh.
nothing off their new album. Neither did Weezer, and neither did Green Day. That's why it's the Hella Mega Tour to play all of their biggest hits from
That's
like
why
the
you
last
go,
couple
right?
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
gonna
why
get
you
the
go.
biggest draw, right?
But I mean, all the there were kids that were like 7, and I was like, you do not even know. Like, you don't know what it's like. Like
Wow.
But
hearing
they
like
do, because a lot
the
of
Yeah.
these,
original.
a lot
Yeah,
of-
I am okay. Like I'm getting up there. It's
a lot
fine.
of these
Oh,
songs
right.
are in movies, and listen, I'm a little bit older than Tyler,
I'm not that person.
but we both were
Little.
blown away by a little
Few,
a few years.
few
Few
years.
years. I think I could be his granddad.
Oh, jeez.
No way. But yeah, the show was great. So yeah.
But I thought it was fantastic. I thought Fall Out Boy's set was. We both did. I had seen Fall Out Boy live at the Warp Tour.
Mm.
Warped Tour, yeah.
Ages when they didn't even have a hit when they came out at Warp Tour when I took my nephew, and they were a cool little band,
They were
but they didn't
babies
really
then.
at that Warp. They didn't sound all that good. I thought they sounded phenomenal yesterday
Really?
until Green Day came out, and Green Day sounded.
And that's why you wanted to go to the concert.
I wanted to see Green Day. They've been on my bucket list for 20 years.
I've never seen them before in concert, and they put on an amazing show.
To the
They
point
really
that,
did.
To the point that 2 weeks ago, I come back from a trip in Alabama, not realizing that they're playing Miami that Sunday until I show up at work on Monday, and Hector tells me, Green Day played at Hard Rock Stadium last night. And I'm like, what? I didn't do anything that Sunday. So I quickly look at their schedule, and I'm like, yeah, but they play August 17th in Columbus, and I'm with Tyler Jones. So I called Tyler immediately. Do we have an event on that Tuesday? And he says, no, we don't. All right.
You didn't cancel an event, did you?
No, we did not.
Because I mean, yeah, Tyler.
Eric, no, I would not have.
Is Eric listening tonight?
I tried to get Eric to buy me the tickets.
You use your company card?
I tried. He didn't seem to go for it. He wanted to go to the Field of Dreams game.
Oh, I could definitely see him
Oh
at that.
yeah.
Cubs, Reds.
No, that's
Yeah.
next year.
That's
But
next
this year
year
he wanted to go. That's like basically his bucket list, going to one of those Field of Dreams. You don't know how long they're going to last.
Right.
But turns out that my good friend was one of the umpires, the first base umpire last year.
Really?
He's a good friend of mine. So I tried to tell him, I will get you tickets to Field of Dreams, and you pay for my Green Day tickets. And he goes, yeah, but your tickets don't cost you any money. I said, no, but they'd cost you money.
They'd cost a lot more than Green Day.
A
tickets,
lot
for
more than
Christ's
Green
sake. Yeah,
Day.
Jesus.
I think they were going for like the cheapest one was like $800 face value.
Yeah,
It was
I heard
crazy.
500 originally, and then it's 800, and then I heard
Yeah.
most of them were going for 15.
Wow, must
I
be
probably
nice.
couldn't have gotten him tickets because I made that offer to him like the day before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I? I gotta start saving now because it'll probably be more, and the Cubs are gonna suck. So I mean,
You are so right.
all right.
No, Cub fans travel.
They do travel, and they're gonna go regardless.
Yeah.
And it was a great game between the Sox and the Yankees. That was a fun game to watch.
It was a good
if anyone
game,
watched it, yeah.
I took it off in the 8th inning.
You
It
turned
was
it off.
7-4
Oh God.
White Sox.
And then
And I was like, I'm done.
and then the
I took
Hollywood
it off,
script
and
came
the
in.
next morning I get up and I'm like, oh my God, look
Watching the
what I
highlights,
missed. Yeah.
walk off. Yeah, it's pretty
It's a good
crazy.
game.
I think Kevin Costner could have done more, but whatever.
Okay, well, we can't all be him.
We can. Back to the whiskey here.
So what I was going to say is, you
Yeah.
know how when you do a traditional whiskey tasting, you're supposed to give it 3 sips to give your palate a chance to like adjust to it and whatnot.
Mhm.
For those of you that don't know, you're supposed to do 3 sips. That way the first taste is, mostly alcohol. And then the second one, third, it gets easier. You get more of the flavor. I'm really curious to see what this would taste like if I wasn't smoking a cigar, because you're right. It does like kind of do that little palate cleanse.
Yeah.
And I think this is very delicious. It's very smooth. So I'd be really curious to see what it's like when I haven't already started smoking with a cigar.
Yeah, I would too. We've done that on the show before. We've tried that before, where we just take a sip of this before we light the cigar up. With this, so you say the 3 sips. It was funny. Like we were down, and we've talked about this on previous episodes since we were down in Louisville. The tour guide and was also in charge of the tasting at Old Forester.
Mhm.
Kind of invited us to do even beyond that, which
Yeah.
was the first sip. Actually, swish it around. You
Like
swish
wine?
it around. Pretty much, you swish it around, and that actually more or less like numbs your
Right.
taste buds to a point, right? So like the pain
Mhm.
receptors. So that's the heat, that's the alcohols you're
Right.
talking about. So I don't know if you've ever tried that, but if you
I
guys
just
ever
did it with the last one.
yeah, you swish it around
Yeah.
that first one instead of just letting it kind of just wash over your pain receptors. The swishing
Right.
around will kind of get that oxygen
out
and
of the
everything
way.
else. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, but I agree. This is something that is very surprising.
It's very
So
smooth.
you asked what the price was, Jack.
Yes, I did.
So MSRP is about $32.99 in the state of Ohio, which state of Ohio, if you're not familiar, is a state-run liquor agency, right? So it's
ABC thing.
no, it's Ohio Department of Liquor.
Okay.
So it's a state liquor. So it's all even pricing across the board, no matter what liquor store you go into, which is not the same I know in Florida.
No.
Very, very different. Like I had my neighbors across the street actually were down in Florida, and they were like, "Hey, do you want me to pick you up anything?" Sends me a picture, and I was like, I need some Eagle Rare. Can't find it around here. And then I zoomed in, and it was $85 as opposed to 30 some in Ohio because it was in a touristy area. So this one in Ohio is $29.99, which I think is a steal.
That is a
for-
steal. This is good.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
this
I
is
think
good.
going to probably, I don't know about what awards it'll win, but I think this one they may see it bump up in price as it is released more. When I saw this was at the Kroger State Liquor just down the road, and I'd heard about it. I forget who was telling me about it, but they had just recently said that George Dickel had released an actual 8-year-old age statement bourbon, and again made in Tennessee, but they're because of the 84% corn, obviously, and it's following all the guidelines to be called bourbon. I was interested, and I'm walking, just looking at the store last night. I think I sent you the picture, and it was the last bottle on the shelf. So obviously, I don't know if they just got one case, couple cases, but now people are going to be looking for it. So if you guys are out there looking for this, it may be tough to find depending on what state you're in. If it catches on, if people start trying it and they look at it as a everyday drinker, which I think this could definitely be.
Oh, for sure.
I think this is something that is extremely smooth. It's got probably a little bit of that vanilla and caramel in it, like you're expecting out of that. Nate, what do you think of it?
Well, I was going to ask you and Karen, since Jack's not much of a bourbon guy, as he said. to me, do you guys think it tastes a little bit like a weeded?
Yeah, it's got a little bit of sweetness like a weeded.
It is. It has that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I was
hint of
surprised.
sweetness.
I was surprised when you said 84% corn because
Yeah.
for me it tasted.
I was surprised to read it.
It tasted more like a weeded bourbon.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Does
You
it
like
say what the flavor profile is? Because I'm getting like almost like honey notes instead of
Honey.
vanilla. I guess it could be vanilla honey, but I'm getting a little bit of honey, like something a little bit more. I guess that's caramel, but
Yeah.
caramelly than like just regular.
I'm getting a little buzz.
No.
Like
So-
that.
So the
That's the
distiller's
goal.
official tasting notes, Karen, it's going to be hints of vanilla leading into cherry and orange before being balanced by almond, toffee, and oak.
Almond. That's it.
Is that what
That's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
The almond. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, definitely it shows complexity due to being aged 8 years and it's at 90 proof. But I mean, I will say, I'm a fan. You need some more?
Yeah, for Tyler.
For Tyler. Tyler. Cool.
You got more on the table than
Can someone rub his nose in it?
I don't want to because it'll make the.
Yeah, the whole screen go. How do you guys think before we get into what's the name again? Lawrence Johnson. Lawrence Johnson. I don't know if you're asking what the name. I just put it up on the screen. George Dickel Bourbon Whiskey, the 8-year. If you're looking for the cigar, it is the Espinosa Murcielago, the Rabito size. So again, I mean, for those that are listening on the audio, we get questions on the feed from Facebook. We also stream live on YouTube, which is nice, but we typically monitor the Facebook comments here. And so part 2 especially. Richie Riot says Weezer for life, by the way.
Ha! Yeah.
Richie was very jealous this morning when he found out Tyler and I went to that concert.
Oh, I'm sure.
Richie's a big Weezer fan, and
And he's got a great music background,
he
too.
yeah, he
He's
does.
a musician.
Yeah, he was in a boy band. He doesn't
Yeah, I
like me. He doesn't like me to say that though.
I mean, there are
Did I
boys
say
in it.
Sorry, Richie. It's a bourbon talking.
We just get started, too, man. Can't wait. How do you guys think this pairs?
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it pairs really well with this cigar. Again, I am not that
What's your
Bourbon.
spirit of choice?
beer.
It's not a.
Craft beers?
Beer or spirit of choice is vodka.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a vodka guy.
Yeah.
I like vodka.
Are you like a vodka soda, vodka cranberry, vodka straight? Do you
Yes,
want like
vodka on
dirty
the rocks.
martinis?
Ooh,
Yes.
dirty martini.
Yes to all of those.
Mm.
Depends on the mood I'm in.
Okay, James Bond,
Are
whatever
you
you,
a
say.
flavored vodka guy?
Shaken,
You like some...
shaken, not stirred.
Ugh.
How do you really feel?
Aw. There's
Go on. You're in a safe place here. Go ahead.
Karen, go ahead,
There-
Karen.
we're not gonna do the name shit tonight, okay?
Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, well, excuse me while I'm a Karen. Okay, so like as much as I love James Bond, as much as the next person, mostly girls, but you are never ever supposed to shake a martini. Also, martinis are not supposed to be made with vodka. I can appreciate.
Oh, but it's so
I
much
need to.
better with vodka.
I can appreciate. I can appreciate the cocktail. I can. I appreciate the aesthetic of it. The traditional Vesper martini, which is, you know, the twist and shaken and all the fucking James Bond shit. But traditionally, martini is supposed to be gin. I'm sure as you guys know. Driver Muse.
That was the original, right?
Richie,
Yes, the
Richie beat you
original.
to it.
Okay, well,
She was trying to get.
I just don't...
Well,
no, you guys got me all fired up.
She got all
Okay?
flustered.
Get fired
Yeah,
up.
I'm mad now.
Do you prefer a gin martini?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, because of principle or because of the flavor?
Both.
Which order? More principle and then flavor.
Yes.
Yeah, I figured. All right. I figured as much.
I'm not.
My first martini was a gin martini. I was at a resort in Jamaica, so it's probably shit gin or whatever. But I remember I was like, you know what? I'm in my, what was it, like mid to late 20s. Like, it's about time I have a martini because, you know, I need to. And I took a couple sips of it. This is fucking terrible. And then someone was like, you know, you can get vodka. And I was like, really? Like, that would
Yeah.
probably be really
You
smooth.
see,
And a dirty martini.
a vodka.
Okay,
dirty
dirty
vodka
martinis
martini is
are-
100 times better than
No,
a
no, no,
gin
no, no.
martini.
No, because the olive brine is going to offset the juniper and all that gin. So if you get a good quality gin that's
Oh.
not too overpowering with the juniper flavor and it's not as botanical as you would think.
I need a
first of
gavel.
all-
All right.
Here you go. I'll just stop. It's
Just don't
fine.
break it. No.
It's fine. No, it's fine.
Well, like I tell people with cigars, everybody's palate's different.
I agree. I was just stating the
It's
fact
okay
of why
It's
traditionality
okay that
with
Steve and I prefer vodka.
it's okay. It's disgusting.
All right. Well, it's just like it's okay to be wrong.
Exactly.
That's what I heard.
It's okay to be
That's
wrong.
what I heard. It's all right. Yeah. You guys have your opinion. It's stupid.
And
but
I
yeah,
acknowledge.
sure,
I mean,
whatever.
yeah, there's a
But
lot
a
of vodka
molasses
martinis
old-fashioned is
that
okay.
exist.
That was actually really good. It was really good.
Come
So
and
you
check it
can
out.
mess with a molasses with an old fashioned, but you can't mess with a martini.
No, I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just saying I don't prefer it that way. There's
Well,
a
that's
ton of
actually
different
not what you
martinis.
said.
That's actually
Blue
not
cheese
what you
stuffed
said. You
olives.
said it's disgusting.
It is disgusting,
Oh,
but
okay,
I can
all right.
appreciate it as a cocktail. I mean, if you get any sort of like girly ass martini, you get the applesini, the chocolatini, the coffeetini, all that fun shit. Then you get
That's what Tyler drinks.
it's all like it's
I
all
have
fancy,
pictures. I have pictures.
juices and shit.
Juice.
It's juice and shit.
Yeah,
Like,
At the
no,
TPE, he ordered like an apple teeny, and he was
Ugh.
sipping it with it. Listen, I have a picture on my phone.
Tyler, do you want to talk about this? You can come clean again.
Did you or didn't
This is
you?
actually an intervention.
Did
Tyler,
you or
if
didn't
could,
you order the apple teeny?
It wasn't an apple teeny.
What was it?
Did it have the
They
same
can't hear you.
ingredients with it?
I've never had an apple teeny before, so I don't know what the fuck.
Okay, but it had the same ingredients as an apple teeny. They just called it the gambling something. They called it.
Sue me. What are you gonna do?
Did you like it?
No, it was actually god awful.
He said it was
just
bad.
saying.
All right.
The third one he had was terrible.
I don't doubt
The
it.
third one.
That's when he's like, "Can I get something else? I don't like it anymore."
Yeah.
Sir, you've had 3. Like you're fine.
You made it different. I didn't.
So wait, what about blue cheese?
Blue cheese stuffed olives. What
Yes.
would take on it?
Phenomenal.
Oh, they're
In a-
delicious.
in a gin martini?
Absolutely. So just
Oh.
like I was telling
And a
him, like
vodka martini.
Vodka martini, extra dirty with
Yes.
blue cheese.
Oh
stuffed
my
olives.
god.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Wow, she just rolled her eyes so hard.
Yeah, no, everyone
Yeah.
felt that.
Majority rules here.
Does it though?
No.
Does it? She's the guest of honor.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
It is.
yeah.
All right, go with your gin.
you can drink your vodka. That's fine. I appreciate vodka.
She's like, I will pour it and I will charge you for it.
I will 100%.
All right, this is the part of the end of part 1.
And my tip will reflect that attitude
Oh
of
my
yours.
goodness.
So it's gonna be big to match my big ass attitude, right?
There you go. All right, so what we do here, if you guys are listening for the first time, you guys are on the show for the first time. Sean Anderson says no blue cheese ever. I feel like he feels very strongly. Maybe had a
That's
bad
okay.
experience.
Yes.
He had a bad
Not
experience
everyone
with
likes blue cheese, but if you can appreciate at least the olives and then you bump it up to blue cheese, it's delicious.
Well,
Well, you
Especially-
got two things. Blue cheese and olives are both acquired tastes.
Exactly. I
Correct.
agree.
I didn't
yeah.
used to like olives.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I didn't used to like blue cheese.
I still hate black olives. I feel like that is
Yeah.
the devil's fruit.
Yeah.
Bananas are what? All right.
Who invited you?
I think you did.
So as I was saying, this is the part of the show where we do the rating. So there's 3 ratings: the whiskey, the cigar, and the pairing. 10 is the best, so it's out of 10. And
It's out of 10.
It's out of 10. 10
Okay.
being the best.
Okay.
You need me to write it down.
With a Sharpie, please.
Just put it right here on the table.
I will.
So who wants? Jack, you go first.
So the whiskey first.
Whiskey, then I got it up on the screen if you need to.
Okay, so like I said, my whiskey experience is not,
That's fine.
but I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go 8.
8.
I'm gonna
Okay.
go
8. And then how about the cigar?
8. Dude, if Eric Espinosa was watching, this is a 10.
It's as if
So we had a broker once.
there's no
We had a-
watching.
we
This is
had a-
just recording.
we had
so
a
don't worry
broker in
about
the
it. This
Midwest.
is just us.
We had a
just talking
broker
about it. Yeah.
before I came along. We had a broker in the Midwest that was repping Espinosa, and then he decided to have a podcast where he reviewed cigars, and he trashed one of the Espinosa
Oh
cigars.
God! Wait,
Ooh.
how
So-
long ago was this?
Bad for
All right, we'll talk off the air here because I'm super curious. I
Didn't
don't
go-
see John Demharter doing a podcast. I don't know if he knows what a podcast is. Yeah, no.
So I'm a Connecticut guy.
You were smoking which one before the
The
Espinosa?
crema, the crema. I love Connecticut's. I smoke everybody's Connecticut's. I'm Eric teases me about that. Tells me my palate sucks, but
He's gonna say that no matter
figuring
what.
out the nuances and the complexity of a crema to me is, it's a little more difficult than
Correct,
something that has
yeah.
a lot of flavor to it.
This
But
is
in
more
terms
your
of
face, yeah.
our portfolio, it is crema, the Laranja Escuro, original Laranja, it's been out we're closing in on a year that it's been
Out of stock.
Out of stock.
Because of the wrapper.
But
Like,
that
you guys
in
are Espinosa
2015,
fans.
in 2015, that was my favorite cigar, and I wasn't even with Espinosa.
Laranja is a fantastic blend.
But the Laranja Escuro to me, and the Murcielago, just hit my palate correctly.
Okay.
So out of our
if Eric
portfolio,
is not watching,
listen, this cigar is a solid 9 for me.
9. Okay.
Yeah.
He just commented it should be a 10. No, he didn't. He didn't. And then how about the pairing? So we got an 8, we got a 9, and then how
I
about
think the pairing's a 10.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I think together,
you're really enjoying this.
together, I'm really enjoying this.
Okay.
If it had vodka in it, it'd even be better.
Vodka in the bourbon. Sounds terrible.
Yeah, it does.
Suicide. Karen.
Okay, so for the bourbon,
Mhm.
I'm gonna give it a 10. I mean, with the
Wow.
price point, with the flavor,
Yeah.
I mean it's very smooth. I mean, I love bourbon. I love all whiskeys,
Mhm.
but this is ridiculously smooth.
Mhm.
And again, I do want to taste it after, I haven't already had like the palate cleanser, but the flavor's there. It's got a little bit of that sweetness that's just keeping it mellow. And then you would, like you said, you would never know that it's higher in alcohol percentage. You would have no idea.
Yeah, and
I mean, it's not much, but still, like you would have no
90 proof's
idea.
not crazy. You're not looking at any like the barrel proof or anything like that. But I
Mhm.
mean, it is higher than some of their stuff. But I agree with you. So how about the cigar?
So the cigar is personally right up my alley. I like everything that's going to be a little bit darker, a little bit more bold. It has just enough spice to, like, I think, really build on that flavor profile, I guess. I don't know. I'm just, I really like it. But I think it's just, I mean, I've smoked these before and I really like them. They provide a really good balance. It's not too heavy. It's not too much. The size is perfect. What size is it again?
So they call it Rabito. It's a
Rabito,
six
okay.
and a half by 46 ring gauge. So
Right.
6.5 inches by 46 ring gauge.
It's a quick smoke, but I enjoy that. Together, I'm honestly going to give it an 8, even though I gave both of them 10 separately. I think almost the bourbon's a little bit too sweet for the cigar. I think they complement each other very well. But if I was going to be smoking this and I wanted to, sip on something for a long time, I would probably drink this way too fast, just like I did. Like I'm going to want to keep drinking more and more because I know I'm going to. But it's very sweet and it just goes down way too easy. And with the complexity of the cigar, I think it kind of not overpowers it, but I think it almost makes it seem sweeter. So if I wanted something to almost complement the cigar just a little bit more, I'm going to want something a little bit heavier, maybe a rye, just something that it has a little bit of
rye.
Yeah, something that's a little spicier. But I think
Would you
definitely
think like a barrel proof?
I would do a barrel proof. Yeah.
Yeah, something that's got a little bit more body, a little more heat to it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, they're both phenomenal. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
10 out of 10 would recommend. So Nate, you want to do your ratings?
What was your cigar? Your pairing was an 8. Your cigar was a 10.
Yes.
10s and an 8.
Yeah, I can do mine. Mine's going to be a little bit different.
Okay.
How
so?
The whiskey, I'm at a 7.
Whoa! Even with the price?
Even with the
For
price,
you?
like it's a good bottle.
Yeah.
Even at that $30 price point, there's still quite a few that price point or less that I would still gravitate towards more. Like I said, this one it tastes a little bit more like a wheated bourbon, which is okay. Like I don't have any issues with like Maker's Mark or Weller, the antique at least.
Yeah.
But I did get a little bit of that sweetness up front with it. I didn't get as much, or I got more spice on the finish, I think, than what you guys did.
Yeah, I didn't get a whole lot of spice.
Yeah, I tasted more spice, and then going to the cigar with that, like it just made that spice come back a little bit. So the whiskey for me was a 7, cigar was a 9, and then the pairing was a 7.
That is different. Before I do my ratings here, Jack, I do have a question here from Ray Cheshire. So Ray tunes in. I like saying this because it's kind of cool that so it's morning where he's at. Jack, this is he is having. I don't know, Ray. Are you smoking right now? I'm sure you're not. Well, you might be drinking probably coffee. So it's about like 9 a.m. where he's at. He's in Vietnam, but he says, "Is it true that a cigar manufacturer wouldn't ship cigars simply because they were waiting for packing? Is the packaging really that important? Nobody's smoking the packaging that I'm aware of. So
The
how
first
do you
part,
guys?
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
I was talking to the mic.
You were pointing at the mic.
Talking
Yeah.
to your mic. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. We're waiting on packaging right now, especially with a new release. A new release wants to be presented in the packaging. I mean, we go through a lot of trouble to create bands and boxes and designs for all these cigars. I mean, that's not to say that listen, you're a perfect example. Tinderbox is a perfect example of that. You guys use the trays.
We do trays and bins. Yeah.
Trays and bins. We can right now we have. And I'm saying right now, when I left 2 days ago, we had Crema Robusto in some bundles. We can certainly ship that to a store that says, listen, I have the box here.
Yeah.
If you can send me the bundles, I can just refill that box.
Yeah.
But, you know, it online, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And certainly in the first time a cigar comes out, you want it presented the way we envisioned it. So but yes, packaging will delay.
Yeah, and from a retail standpoint, also most cigar retailers aren't doing the bins or the trays. They're walk-in humidors, so that's part of it. That's part of the way you sell it, right? So the presentation.
Absolutely.
Also, there are people that want to do the box buys. There was a great example of this, and I'm not going to say exactly what company it was, but it was basically a former Cigar of the Year in Cigar Aficionado. And well, there's a lot of years there, but it was a higher price tag. It was a tougher to find cigar, and basically, so there was a shop that had orders 10 boxes of this cigar, and they had people that wanted to buy the box. So they get the shipment, and this higher end cigar comes in a bundle, 10 bundles, and then they basically show they're like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? Because these were like individually in their own little area of the box. You know, it's not just stacked up like a 20 count box.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's dead serious. And so then they were like, hey, they're like, all right, well, I'll try to sell them. Well, a lot of the customers didn't want to buy it because it wasn't in the box.
Yeah. Well, especially when you have a 10 count box. I mean, we do a lot of our stuff now in 10 count boxes.
10 or so. I'm not trying to narrow it down.
Well, a 10 count box is, even though that was a pricier cigar, it is more affordable. And listen, when you know, I come from an era of vinyl records. How great was it when you got that record and took the wrap? Cigar guys like that too.
There is a little bit of that.
Unwrap that and the excitement of that box.
Some companies go overboard that you really have to just like undress it. You know what I mean? And you have to throw out a bunch of stuff.
Well, that's the sexiness of a cigar box.
It is, unless you're a retailer and you open up and I love them to death. I love the cigars, love the company, but Oliva throws their brochure and everything with cedar and the paper and everything like that. And all I want to do is stock 3 cigars in a bin, and I'm like, God damn it! You know, like cutting it open, you got to cut like 3 stickers, then you got to throw this out, throw that out. The one cigar I'm talking about that I will say, and there's a little bit of a parallel with the bourbon industry, is that particular cigar, I think, and we had someone come into the shop a couple times that were absolutely upset that I was like, well, I can put together, I've got a full box of this cigar, but I got to take some out of a bin. This is a while back, and they're like, no, I want a sealed box, and I'm like, you're just going to resell this, aren't you? I have no interest in that. You know what I mean? I've got all the cigars in a box. Here you go. But they wanted it, I assume, just to basically resell it online because they're tougher to find. So, but yeah, so to you, Ray, it is something that you want to do. Now, there are shops, and I know you guys have done it before, Espinosa Cigars, for a shop like ours. You'll say, hey, all I got is bundles. Do you guys want them? And we're like, yeah. And then you guys will kick us like, $5 off the box price because essentially that's what we're saving, and it just makes sense. So, and also I will say this, if you are on the retail side or warehouse side, it's tough to stack a lot of bundles because yes, they're pretty firm and everything like that, but it's tougher to stack them as you could boxes. And so the higher up you go also, Ray, if you're stacking several bundles, the weight of the cigars in that humidity will eventually, if you stack them up too high horizontally, you will have a little bit of compression on those cigars. So the integrity of the cigars could be sacrificed as well over time. You try to stack them vertically, but you can only go so high without them teetering at that point. So there is some also functionality behind it, not just the marketing. I will say that from the retail side, that it makes more sense to have them in
I can tell you that in our humidor, we don't stack bundles.
Yeah.
Bundles are kept in the boxes.
Yeah.
They come in. They're in the humidor, but they're kept in those boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take up too much space.
It does, and it's always a gamble if something's going to fall off, and then you also don't have the box to protect it. So, and shipping them also.
And we try to hide them from Eric.
Fair.
Yeah.
Going back to the whiskey cigar and pairing, I'll round it out here. The whiskey, I'm going to give this a 9, I think, and that does bring in, as I typically do, the price point, $29.99 for this bottle. This is a very enjoyable bottle. This has surpassed what I expected of it. I do like George Dickel products, even the lower price, 8 and 12. I think that they are very good, easy sippers. You can also use them as a cocktail mixer. But this one here is something that I could definitely sip on. You throw a couple ice cubes, it might get too light, but I do like the flavors of this. And I would say, Karen, if you do get your hands on it, it would be interesting to throw this in a couple cocktails as well, some of your typical whiskey cocktails, because I think you get a little bit of that sweetness in there that you wouldn't get from some of the heavier bourbons.
But see, I don't know if that's something that most people would want,
May
because
not.
if you take like a traditional old fashioned, you're adding, in most cases, you're adding like Turbano syrup, which is a Demerara syrup, or you're going to do simple syrup more commonly, but that's going to add the sweetness to the cocktail in itself.
Too sweet or get
I think it
drowned
might
out.
be too sweet. I think
Yeah.
this is a really good, like you sip it by itself and it's very sweet. Again, like I will definitely, if I get my hands on a bottle, I'll mess with it. I'll play with it. I want to see what I can do with it. But it's one of those things where you might not want to change it too much, because again, like you said, if you
It's a
had a
nice
couple
drinker.
cubes, like it's going to dilute a
You'd
lot of
water
that.
it out, and
Yeah,
you
but it's
wouldn't
going to
get a
be
lot of the
so
flavors.
sweet. Yeah.
That's a good point. But yeah, so 9 on that. The cigar, I love the Murcielago. I've always been a big fan of this project for Eric Espinosa. I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to smoke the original EO blend, but I have smoked a couple way back, and I smoked the Red Band when Eric first reintroduced it, and I was very pleased with it. I understood his frustration with not able to produce it the way he wanted to, so I love the fact that he's taken off with AJ, and that relationship has actually really blossomed to a point that you guys are crushing it now as a company, and there's a trust there. This is something also I'll say we didn't really talk about a lot. Karen mentioned the bat on there. There's a redesigned bat for this. It brought it back out, but it's got this kind of a hologram type look to it, and very, what is that? Very progressive. I don't know. It's very kind of futuristic looking.
Yeah.
It is not your traditional cigar band.
Well, the original, the red one, was a little futuristic too.
It was, but
Yeah.
this, you have the
Yeah.
hologram look to it, if you will.
Our graphic guy Anthony did a fantastic
He
job
really
with
did.
it.
It's
So,
beautiful. It's
He really
beautiful.
did.
Mhm.
And the whole thing, when you guys take this off, it's not just the bat logo on there. It's the entire thing. It basically expands, as if you look at it from the back, it's just like expanded wings, which is very cool. So, and it says Espinosa on the secondary band. So I'd give it a 9 as well. I think the pairing, I'm going to stick with a 9 across the board. This one, actually, they stand up to each other. Complement in that way that they stand up. You got sweetness, you got a little bit of that, not dry bitterness, but almost like the cigar kind of brings you back down from the sweetness again. So it's almost like you're having this sweet drink with a good like steak, like a good entree that's, they stand up, but it's complementing in that way. But it doesn't, I don't think this is one that I wouldn't give it 10 just because it doesn't really bring out a whole lot from the others. But as we mentioned, we haven't had the whiskey without the cigar, so we don't know how that drinks on its own. But I don't think it's really bringing out a whole lot from each other. I think it's just basically complementing each other, based on the fact that you can taste both and you go back and forth. You can enjoy the whiskey, you can enjoy the cigar, whatever the process is. You smoke first and then you take a drink, or you drink first and take a smoke. They're both standing up. So I give that a 9 because I can appreciate that. And the price point on this, the Rabito, what's the MSRP? We sell it for around 10.
I don't know what the taxes are in your state. So yeah, it's a $9-10.
$9-10 cigar. So it's an everyday smoke for you guys out there. So definitely would recommend it. And hope you guys do get your hands on this bottle now that it's out and about, and hopefully most of your states, because Dickel is huge. And then also this cigar, Espinosa, is constantly expanding. You guys are in every state, I believe.
Yep.
You're available in every state.
Yep.
And if you're in the Columbus area, or if you guys want to reach out to our sponsor, Tinderbox at Easton, they can ship. And we do have Murcielagos, or however Jack says it the right way.
Murcielago.
Right. That you can definitely order those and we'll ship them to you. Tinderbox at Easton, thank you for this Murcielago, or what was it again? One more time. I just can't. Karen, will you say it correctly, please?
After
If you could just-
Murcielago. Murcielago.
Murcielago.
Say it like you are Dracula.
Murcielago.
There you go.
Gave me
So
goosebumps.
before we end the rating game here, I
Sure,
would like to
sure.
give
Put that back up on there.
I would like to give another 10 out to the outfit Nate chose to wear today. You can't
Nate,
see
not on
it,
camera.
not on camera,
tonight,
but his
he
outfit is a 10.
He's
so
got
everybody
a
knows.
Torano. Have you heard of that company?
I-
Jack? You heard of that?
Sadly, yes.
We didn't go into the history of it, or you.
Steve thought you might be a little pissed.
I said
No,
I'm
not at all.
interested to see where it goes.
No. Listen,
He's got a Torano shirt. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a family company, right, Jack? It's a family
Yes.
company.
yes, was.
It was a family company. Went down a different road at some point. But
listen, the guys in general are family to me now. So
right.
yeah.
Also, I want to thank Altadis USA. I'm going to be lighting up the Aging Room Nicaragua, which is also an AJ Fernandez blend. So as we mentioned, AJ's got a ton of tobacco. He's got a great hand in this industry, and not only is he working with Eric Espinosa, but he's working with some other companies like Altadis USA and General, and some other cigars, other companies, as well as his own line. He's got how many factories now? 4?
I think it's 2.
He's got San Lotano.
And the Esteli.
And just that?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got 4 or 5 farms.
Listen, it looks like more than 4 or 5
Is it?
farms. They're massive.
Jeez.
So,
A lot of tobacco that he's growing, a lot of tobacco that he's obtained as well, that he is able to blend with. So
the other cigars that he's killing it on are Diesel, the Whiskey Rose.
Diesel
Oh
Whiskey
my
Row,
God.
which we featured. We actually did an event at Tinderbox.
So
yeah.
good.
So yeah, we did that limited edition one as well as with the Derringer. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna be smoking that. Thank you, Altadis USA and Josh Bentley, for all your hard work and the sponsorship. You see the banner behind us: Romeo Julieta, Monte Cristo, H. Upman, Aging Room is another one of those as well. And then also BS Cigar Company, guys, check them out. BS Cigar Company, gold and silver, all in stock. And the silver is made by Espinosa Cigars, and that was a fun project that Brian Joyce and I were able to work on over a bottle of Havana Club Blue, the Grupos de Maestros rum, after a full family-style Cuban.
Nice.
You weren't with the company at that time,
No.
but the whole family was there. We drank, we smoked, we ate, and I always show the picture of this ashtray while we were down there working on that BS silver. And I show this ashtray, and it's just the winners. And it's an ashtray kind of that size, and it's just got probably 20-some cigars. And I said, that's just the winners. There were 4 of us smoking. And I said, I don't know how many we went through, but I said, basically, you smoked about a quarter of it. And I'm like, where are we at?
Yeah.
And then Hector just reaches behind his desk and pulls out the next one. He's like, try this. And then he just gets creative, and he's just like, so what do you think this is?
Yeah.
He's like, this is one of ours, but it's got the double binder. One of them's different. What do you think it is? And so that is a game at that point.
Hector likes playing that game.
He does.
He likes that a lot.
And then I offended Eric by saying, no, I'm not going to drive your Nissan Armada after several drinks in a city I've never been to. Back to the hotel.
It's a good move.
Don't forget the bump.
Oh, you guys use that, what was the acid, the citric acid bump?
Mm.
Yeah. The bag of Coke.
Don't take that on the airplane.
The bag of Coke.
Guys, thank you very much. Cheers to part 1. Stay tuned. We're going to do a quick intermission. We've got a raffle prize from Espinosa Cigars. So we'll go onto the Patreon page and we'll have Karen pick a number between 1 and whatever it is on there. And we will raffle that off. And stay tuned for part 2, making dreams into reality. And we're really going to kind of hone in on Karen's project, Ravens Project.
Ravens Project.
Ravens Project.
Ravens Project.
Would we steamy romance? Just romance.
It's straight up smut.
Erotica.
It's smut.
Stay tuned for that, guys. Cheers, part 1. Thank you very much. Happy Whiskey
Cheers.
Wednesday,
Yeah,
everyone.
Whiskey Wednesday. Oh,
You got an empty glass.
Can't all be
Pour
winners.
for 'em. Pour for 'em. All right, so we keep this going. Everyone out there, we keep this going for a moment. You guys need to use the restroom.
I'm good.
I just want
Good.
a chicken nugget.
It's under the table.
One that you brought, or do I have to provide the chicken? I didn't know there's catering.
The second half will be sponsored by McDonald's.
I'm loving it. Get those sponsorships.
Nice.
Now, if McDonald's became a sponsor of the podcast, we'd have a nicer garage. I put some drywall up in this bitch.
Some insulation
Yeah, maybe. Don't get greedy.
and some AC.
McDonald's, if you're listening,
They have this new sauce. It's called Sweetie and Sour, and it's barbecue and sour mixed together. Limited edition. It's green. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah.
Karen, I need you to pick a number including these numbers, 1 and 19.
Right now.
I am a patriot.
Well, finish chewing. You can finish chewing. That's fine. Did you eat that dry?
No.
I have a problem with
Dry
chicken.
nugget?
Yeah,
That's terrible.
yeah, I know.
Did you miss me like dipping it in the sauce?
I did. I heard you talking about it. I was looking up the Patreon stuff.
Should Tyler be ineligible since he works? for that?
Is he one of the 19?
He is.
No, it's fair game. All right, no, you can't see the list. A lot of. You feel pressure?
I feel a lot of pressure
Are you
right
done?
now.
Are you done chewing? I
I
feel like you're chewing
You,
longer.
but my favorite
I
number.
feel like you're chewing longer because you don't want to pick.
My favorite number is 13. I don't want to pressure
Yeah,
you
mine
because
too.
but I have a reason. January 3rd is my birthday, so 1-3,
Nice.
and Dan Marino.
11.
11. All right. 1, 2.
Well, I was
3,
trying to pressure
4,
you,
5,
Jesus.
6, 7, 8, 9. I got to count again because I saw Tyler's name. I don't make sure I don't pick that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Alexander Rice. Alexander, if you're out there, let's see. Wow.
You have 10 minutes to get to the garage and pick up your prize.
Alexander Rice. We need to get him on the podcast. So-
Listen, yeah.
You're welcome.
So, Alexander, we appreciate your support. Need to get you more T-shirts. He's been a supporter for a year now. So since last August, he started with $25 a month tier, and right after that, he's bumped it up and has paid up until now $50 a month to support the podcast.
Nice.
So,
Nobody more deserving.
no, well, everyone deserves a shot, but yeah, Alexander Rice got a Sharpie.
Yep.
Congratulations, Alexander. Thank you very much for the support.
You want a silver Sharpie?
Hope you're listening, and reach out to me on Facebook or through the podcast as well. That's fantastic.
The chicken nugget was also fantastic.
Was it?
It was
You had
so
the new
good.
Sweet barbecue, or
Sweetie sauce.
that's really what it's called?
It's literally called sweet.
It's a female, right?
Sweetie sauce.
What? Swaley.
It's Saweetie, SAWEETIE, and sour. Saweetie and sour.
So there's no barbecue in it?
There is barbecue in it.
No, I mean in the name.
Sweetie, like sweet barbecue.
No, this is assuming.
It
Saweetie.
Saweetie.
Saweetie and sour.
Here's your sauce back.
Give me my sauce back, all right?
Saweetie
I like a
sauce.
little bit of sauce, you know.
Could be. All right. Sean, how's that powder going? Need another one? Yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to turn it off? I can turn the alarm on. Hang on a sec. Do you want me to? It's
So,
it's recording you, so
ladies
behave.
and gentlemen, it's time to put the children to bed. Our next segment.
I mean, nobody should be watching this if they're under 21 anyways, but
I
at least 17
It's
at
up
this
to you.
point.
it's up to you. Here's a free education. Oh, goodness.
What?
Should we turn down the lights for this part a little bit? Like a little mood lighting?
Got a candle. Brown chicken,
I'm-
brown cow.
How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow?
Done?
Done? Am I done?
Oh, are we changing cigars? Oh, sorry.
I'm going to. Like, why not?
No, this is intermission. We just keep it going. I did the whole.
Yes, please. Will you cut it? I always punch. I never cut, so I'm not versed in like. I don't have a good cutter. Yeah, they're scissors. Yeah, I know they're not good.
James.
Did you really text me that song? Yeah. All right. You gotta listen to it. It's called "In My Eyes" by Tuesday.
All right.
Oh, talk to him.
Go back to texting each other because we're gonna get started.
Okay.
All right, good.
Are you guys done?
All right, this is a time. So anyone out there listening, if you could, and I'm going to share it again on the Bourbon and BS podcast or Bourbon and BS community page. That's part 2, but let's get as many people hopefully we can on this. If you guys are listening, please share it to your page if you think it's again.
Ooh, I'm gonna do that.
Adults only.
Adult fun.
After hours.
Bourbon and BS after hours.
Late night jazz in the garage. We've got
Wow,
Karen and Jack with me.
Let's get it on.
I'm really trying.
It's gonna be fun.
You know, if Eric Espinosa's here, he'd be singing already some love songs.
Oh, he would have.
He would have.
He'd be done with the intermission already. He'd
Yeah,
just
he'd
like
be.
be walking around the garage like this. Eric, can you come back? Get started there. Oh yeah, he's been in the garage twice. Been good. I like his term for if you get drunk. If you get drunk, it's
Drunk?
you get drunk.
You there already?
Not there yet, but he's like, hey, bro, you got pretty banged up last night.
Yeah.
You heard that?
Banged up is a term he uses for drunk.
Yeah.
And if you like screw somebody out of some money, you banged them out.
You banged them out.
You banged them out. They banged
See, in
them
my
out.
book, I use a very different term for banged him out.
And that leads us into part 2.
It's a good title.
I need just a quick silence so I can actually find this on the audio file here. Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. We are doing 182, part 2, Beyond the BS. I have Karen and Jack with me still. If you guys have not listened to part 1, you're listening on the audio. If you're just tuning in live on the feed, if you guys go back, you should listen to part 1. We spotlighted the Espinosa Murcielago as well as the George Dickel 8-year bourbon, which is a newer bottle from them. We rated those. We talked about both companies. We talked a little bit about how they paired well together, and it rated fairly well, actually. So check that out. And now we're going to get into part 2, which is a little bit more about life. And Raven Castle. No.
Yeah, that's
joined
me.
by Raven Castle here.
That's me.
Making dreams into reality. So we want to get into. So Karen is in the final stages
Yes.
of writing. Go ahead.
No, finish your introduction, please. I was enjoying it. It's my first one. Come on now.
Raven Castle is finishing up. I don't know the title of the book. Is there?
I don't. There's
working titles.
It's a working title. It's hard. I'm gonna get to that in a second, though.
Okay.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Fantastic. So
Brown cow, the romance.
Karen and Raven, multiple personalities, I'm sure, but we
Rude.
we had her on. So she is part of the community. She's a cigar enthusiast, whiskey enthusiast. She's got a lot of experience in the bar world as far as cocktails and mixing up new cocktails and absolutely just has her hands on both sides of what this podcast, especially part 1, is about. And then when it comes to the life topic, the making dreams into reality, getting to know Karen a bit more recently, this is one of many things that she is working on in her life and things that she has these goals along with other things. This is one of them.
Oh, absolutely.
And to be an author, has a passion in literature, and also now branching out to have a very specific genre of books.
Yes.
That we can't classify officially. You say there's a lot
Correct.
of names for it. Romance would be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are out there and you're big romance novel fans, or as you called it, steamy romance, NC-17, smut was thrown in there.
It is smutty.
Erotica is thrown around but not used. So very interested to learn more about this project that you're working on under the name of Raven Castle. So let's just start. I guess give us an overview of the project. You said you don't have a title; it's working titles. You can share those if you want. We can get some feedback from the community if you would like that.
Okay.
But this is something that I'm very fascinated about. And then also beyond that, once we get through that, I want to hear a little bit more about some of the other things you're working on. I mean, obviously, This is
Absolutely.
not just the one thing. A lot of times people are always so focused on just one project, one aspect of their life. And a lot of times that doesn't really work out as well as it should, because that takes away from other things that you're trying to build as a character, as a person,
Of course.
and things around you, family life or whatever it might be, work life, things that get you through that to get to those goals that you want to get to. So I'm really interested to hear from Karen/Raven. So go ahead and kind of give a little bit of background on how you got to the point you're at, which is after your recent trip, and then also where you're at in the process, how you started, what made you want to write your first novel and be a published author.
Okay. So for those of you that are listening that I haven't met, which I'm assuming is most of you, if you've been listening since the beginning, obviously, my name is Karen. A lot of romance authors come up with a pen name because, you don't want to be out there and you're like, yeah, like I wrote this under my real name. And then somebody meets you and they swipe your credit card and they're like, oh, hey, you wrote that really, really risque book. And you're like, yeah, that's me. So a lot of authors,
Risque is another good one.
Risque is another one.
Yeah, it's very risque.
A lot of genres here.
Lots of
All in
them.
one.
They're all like kind of encompassed under this nice smutty umbrella.
Going back to the smut, I feel like we have a winning horse in this race.
So, so it's just smut's the best word that I can use to describe
Smut's out
it.
to the lead.
I'll keep it going. And okay, so Raven Castle was my pen name that I recently decided on not too long ago. So those of you listening, you get the pleasure of knowing my real name and my author name, which is Raven Castle. Again, that's Oh no, it's fine. You can leave it up there. I
Any
don't
relation
mind.
to Pat?
No, so Pat spells it with a S. Yeah, but that's how I tell everyone to pronounce it. I'm like, yeah, it's like Pat Zajac, but with a Z. But Travis Zajac is like my third cousin twice removed. He's plays for the New Jersey Devils, I think, unless he got traded or doesn't play anymore. I don't know. But there's that.
You guys are close then.
Super duper close. I've met him before. I haven't.
Saw a game on TV once. I know that guy.
I was like, I know that guy.
You guys are close.
So, okay. So yeah, so that's the history behind the name. I picked Raven because it just works. I don't know. It's easy to sign. It writes like Karen. It's easy. I don't know. Castle, because I hope this isn't too much information, but people that lived where I do before me, their last name was Castle. And I was like, that's a real name.
Nice.
And it sounds cool. So why not? Close enough. We'll go with Frank Castle. It works. But so with the romance genre, it gets really difficult because when you're looking up a romance novel, you've got everything from those books that you can find at Kroger. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm downplaying them, but you all know the ones that I'm talking about.
Fabio style.
Yeah, Fabio style, stories about galloping abs and like crazy. Yeah, they're fun. They're really fun. But on Amazon and a lot of other major retailers like Barnes & Noble, you will get flagged and you can only be sold in certain stores if you're labeled as erotica. Therefore, as erotic as the story may get, you classify yourself as romance. And then, boom, like you're like, oh, I'm going to read this sweet little innocent romance like The Notebook. And then you're like, oh, this is making me blush harder than I thought. I need to put the book down, BRB. So it's really fun. Yeah, for obvious reasons.
We have ages all over the place.
No, I told you that anyone that's listening should at least be over 21. If not 17 bare minimum, they can handle it.
NC-17.
NC-17,
right?
yeah. 17 and up. So yeah, they're aware. They've hit puberty. But
So.
We'll see. So during the pandemic, I used to work at one of the hospitals around here as pretty much a secretary that would check in patients. And we obviously weren't seeing a lot of patients because the pandemic. So we didn't have a lot of outpatients. So I'd get really bored. And with my Amazon Kindle Unlimited, I would just flick through and start reading all these books. I read the whole Harry Potter series. And then one day this book popped up that didn't have a title that sounded like romance. And so I was like, oh, I'll read it. And it was a very hot, steamy, cheesy romance novel. And it took me like 5 hours to read through it, like all 300 pages. And I was like, this is cake. I like it. I read 67 romance novels last year.
Oh, romance is still that umbrella term.
It's the umbrella term, yeah.
So erotica.
Erotica, pretty much, yes.
Smut.
Smut. It's smut. It's smut. Yeah, it's smut. But it's fun, you know, like to get like super dirty for a second, you know, like if you go on any sort of pornographic website, you're going to be like, oh, like, cool, it's great. But the cool thing about like literature is you get to use your imagination and be like, like, you know, it's happening exactly how you want it to happen. So it's fun. And they're really quick reads. And it's kind of funny because there's almost like a formula to a romance novel. And, you know, you see any rom-com, what happens? Guy, girl meet, or guy and girl, they meet, they fall in love, they break up, and they get back together. Like that's it. That's every like every romance, or somebody dies in the end. But you know, that's the gist of it.
Just ruined it. Go on.
Sorry.
No,
I wasn't.
Rom-coms.
Yeah, rom-coms. Okay, maybe not rom-coms, but like, you know, romance. Like Nicholas Sparks, very like in-depth, very beautiful romance stories. Then you've also got like 50 Shades of Grey. So if you were to take like 50 Shades of Grey and make it just a little bit more realistic, a little less like billionaire romance, which is a type of romance novel, you know, billionaire who sweeps some poor ordinary girl off her feet.
Right.
I'm going to give her the world because she's so ordinary, but I love her so much. And
Been there.
oh, but I mean, right. But I love it. You know, like they're so fun because you're like, oh, where are they going to go on their private jet next? And you're just like, oh man, like during the pandemic, it was fun to get away from that.
Pretty Woman. I saw that movie.
Yeah, 100%.
Pretty Woman, yeah,
there you
yeah.
go. So like, yeah, these stories can become movies. Just saying, probably not the smut parts,
The
you know.
Joan Wilder.
But so when I was growing up in school, I always kind of excelled at writing. I majored in the sciences. I'm currently in nursing school, but writing is just like where my heart has always stayed. And it was something that I knew that I wanted to do. It's on my bucket list, obviously, is to publish a book. And it just kind of hit me during the pandemic, and I got some sudden inspiration. I was like, you know, if I don't start writing now, like I never will. Like it's just,
What
it was one of
that
those
moment?
things. So
Do you have that, like, down to a moment.
yes and no.
Yeah.
So I went on a very spontaneous trip to Costa Rica. And it was one of those things where it was just so crazy and spontaneous of how it happened that I was like, I need to write about this. So the story is very,
So this is
very,
autobiographical?
very, no, it's very, very, very loosely based off of true events. Just pretty much the initial inspiration.
Based on a true story.
Yes and no. When you read the details, it did not happen. I'll tell you that much. Like
Based on
99% of the details did not happen. But the premise of going on a trip, yes. So my book, that's literally
Based on a true
it.
story.
That's
Got
it.
it.
That's it.
So I got on a plane based on a true story.
Based on a true story. You know, that's how they do horror movies, right? Like they're like, oh yeah, this is based on a true story because, you know, she threw up pea soup. And so we all thought The Exorcist was a true story. But you know, that's how they do it. There's just one factor that's just got to be true. And then everything else just falls into line. But the initial like
Artistic license, isn't that one?
yeah, I think so. But the initial kind of adventure, and what I've realized is a lot of writers struggle with writer's block, obviously, and a lot of writers from those that I've talked to who have published books, a lot of them kind of, I don't know, a lot of them write very differently as they should. They're all artists in their own way. I'm very much like I write from start to finish. I didn't know where the story was going when I was writing it. A lot of the details came to me just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to go with this. I'm going to see what happens here. And I know a lot of writers that are like, I'm going to write the ending first. And I'm like, okay, like good for you. Like I'm not.
That'd be tough.
But see, it's
I know
see,
everyone's
it's not.
brain works
But
differently.
see,
right? I get that.
And yes and no, because I have a really good idea for a sci-fi book that I'm like putting on my back plate for like a long time. I know science fiction is where my heart lies, but I'm writing romance. It doesn't make sense. No, it's not an alien romance. That's a thing
Lot of
too.
Sci-fi books or stories have romance in them.
Barbarella.
Yes, but I mean, like, it's not the main point. You know, like you look at Lord of the
Nice.
Rings, right? There's a great love story in Lord of the Rings. However, that's not the main point. Obviously.
Love story in
I
Lord
thought
of
they were
the
going to get
Rings?
together. I was actually surprised on that one.
Was there?
There's two. It was mostly you're offending her.
It's okay. There's Aragorn and Arwen, you know.
Okay.
Liv Tyler's character.
Yeah, Liv Tyler and
But-
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, but Vigo also, like, at one point I thought that other
Okay, no. So it was
I saw
no,
it
no.
going that way because
Did you read the books?
No, I watched the movies.
Well, then that's your problem.
I have a lot of problems.
She's very
I'm
aggressive.
just-
She's an aggressive writer.
It's fine.
Part two is
Okay, but then so Eowyn, who you're talking about, gets together with
not trying-
Faramir in the end. It's a whole thing. Anyways, back to
Just
the
saying
original.
Sci-fi can have
They can have romance, yes, but that's sci-fi is not. They have like, paranormal and science fiction romance, and they have that as a genre. That's not what I'm writing about. But I do have a really good story in the back of my mind for a science fiction novel that I will write someday after I get like my feet wet in the author world. But it's something that I already have the ending decided. I have nothing from. I know
Of
the
the
initial,
sci-fi story.
I know the initial idea and I know the ending, and like nothing in between.
So that's a question I have actually.
Yeah.
When you have these thoughts going through, like you're already kind of you want to work on this other project. So my question is that distracting? Like, is it hard to stay?
Oh,
'Cause I
100%.
think that like a lot of people have these again. You try to focus on this path that you have with being an author, but there's the everyday stuff where you get inspired.
Yeah.
Probably daily. You have these interactions with people. You have these experiences that all of a sudden you're like, oh, that would be a great idea for a
sure.
book, no matter what the genre
For
is.
sure.
But then you're like, no, I have to stay on here.
Right.
I'm sure there are authors out there, probably also, you said everyone's different. I mean, I don't know if you know any that would be working on multiple projects at once.
A
which
lot of them
my
that I've
brain
talked
would
to, yeah,
explode.
have multiple projects at once.
It'd be tough to finish any of them.
So I've actually started. So the book that I'm writing now is part of a duet, which means that it's a 2-part series. I've actually started and written more of the second half than I have of the initial half.
Really?
Which I'm trying to obviously publish the initial half first because it's a chronological story. So you're going to want to read the part 1 first. Makes sense.
Is that so you have a continuation, like as far as the story?
Yes and no. So it's pretty much like a sequel, but also it's kind of not.
But
so
you could do part 2 and then a prequel.
I could, yeah, but then it wouldn't make any sense because people are jumping into the story like halfway through. But I do have several other projects that I've started, and it gets really hard because I'm like, oh, like this would be a great idea for that. So then I jot it down and I start typing and I'm like, wow, I just wrote 10,000 words in this story when I should be focusing on finishing my other one.
So that was my question.
Yeah.
How do you stay on task at that point?
It's hard. It's hard, and there's not really an easy way for me to. That's why my book isn't out yet. I had all summer to kind of crank it down in between semesters at school, and I'm still not 100% done with it.
And working full time.
Yeah. But I'm getting there. My goal is to hopefully have it published by the middle or end of September. So what I did recently that you were kind of talking about is I just did a trip out to California where I booked a photo shoot with a model and a photographer and flew them out there to do the cover of my book. So one of the things when I read 67 romance novels last year that I noticed was it tells you like how many books you read and then like of what genres and everything on Amazon. I was like, oh, cool. I read 67 books. I read like 120, but 67 of those were romance. So, that was cool. And again, they're fast, they're quick, they're fun. And it's just, I don't know. I like them.
Where did you learn, with what you're talking about now with booking this, you flew cross country. You said you hired a model, you hired a photographer. I mean, so this is something that, with the topic at hand, and you can kind of apply this as you continue telling the story, but, with the dreams into reality type of a topic is how do you learn to do this? You know what I mean? Because a lot of times that's probably a big obstacle for a lot of people. Not only like, kind of honing in on this project. You're like, I need to get this done.
Yeah.
Cigars the same, I got all these blends. I want to do one. You have to pick one that you want to release. Anything else, if you're trying to finish a project, we've had guests on in the past that have had different areas of expertise, but it's always there's this similarity that you actually have to put something out there, a product,
right,
to really do that. So when you're doing this, you're working on the cover of your book. Where do you learn something like that? Like it's the knowledge, gathering the knowledge.
So I guess that's a very loaded question. I do have 4 friends in the author industry that I have reached out to and talked to about this. 3 of those friends are pretty much like, I signed with a publisher. They did all that stuff for me. I don't think I'm going to sign with a publisher. It's really hard for romance to get into that. Unless, of course, you're like Nicholas Sparks. But a lot of romance authors self-publish, and it's easy and it's quick. Easy. But it's I started following on Instagram a lot of the romance authors that I started to read. And then like they would post something like, oh, this person did my cover. And so I followed a couple different photographers, and these photographers post mostly like shirtless men or, very like intimate looking covers. So, it's fun for me to like scroll through every once in a while. But my biggest
For the inspiration.
just for the inspiration.
Right, sure.
So
sure,
no,
sure,
my
sure,
biggest issue with reading a lot of these
Educational.
books, it's very educational. Do you want 6 or an 8-pack? Like you got to pick.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
Or a dad
Tough
bod.
choice.
or a
You
dad
should go
bod.
dad
Yeah.
bod.
No, not with this book. Maybe the
No?
next one. So with this one, my biggest pet peeve was reading these books and looking at the cover, and that's the image that you have in your head when you're reading these books. That's the
characters,
character,
right?
yeah.
So
Whether it's male and female or just male,
Yeah.
or even like nothing at all. But I prefer covers with people on them. I think it's a little bit more enticing. A lot of times they wouldn't match up. Like I'd be reading a
with
book.
your image.
No, I would be reading a book about like a blonde haired, blue eyed, like stud muffin, who's a billionaire, like businessman. And it would be like a brunette on a beach, like, Fabio style. And I'm like, this does not like match up. Like, it's just a stock image, which you can buy stock images and there's nothing wrong with that. But for my first book, I was like, maybe someday I'll get to that point where I'm like, yeah, I can just shift and be like, oh yeah, he's hot. Like I'll put him on the cover. Oh yeah, this is a good picture of a couple. Like I'll put that on the cover. But for my first book, I was like, I'm not going to regret going all out. I'm not going to regret, putting everything that I have into making this the best that I can. So I was scrolling through some images on this photographer's Instagram page because he was posting a lot like, oh, I just did some new shoots, whatever.
Mhm.
And this guy just popped up and I was just like, this is 100% the guy that I described in my book.
Why?
What do you mean why?
Like, what did you like about it?
So it's not that I liked it. It's just like when I describe my main character in the book, his name is Evan Connery. When I describe Evan in the book, it is verbatim exactly like you would look at the cover model on my book and you'd be like, that is 100% Evan Connery.
Follows as
That
you're
is who
reading it.
that is who
So you
she's
literally
describing.
close it just to look again.
Yeah, you could.
If you wanted to.
Exactly.
For inspiration.
So it was very much like, okay, like I need to do what I can to make sure that I get this model on the cover of my book. And so I reached out to the photographer through his website, emailed him, and I was like, look, this is what happened. I want to have him on the cover of my book. How do I do that?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, well, like, let's talk
So you
about.
went with him to Costa Rica?
No.
Oh.
No. I flew both of them out to.
You're paying attention. I like that.
I flew both of them out to Malibu.
Those pieces together.
Like 3 weeks ago now. Yeah, the first week of
Yeah,
August, I flew them out to Malibu. Or the model lived in LA, so he was just out there, but I flew myself and then the photographer out to Malibu. And, the book takes place in Costa Rica. So we're like, okay, beach, rocks, cliffs, all that fun stuff.
Right.
And we did a huge 2-day photo shoot, which was exhausting, but it was super fun. The photographer was great. The model was great. Both of them were very easy and very fun to work with. I mean, obviously they knew more about the industry than I did.
More experience in doing these
Yeah,
types of
absolutely.
things.
So I'm like, they're like, what do you want? And I'm like, I think something like this. Like, okay, we'll make it work. So then I supplied like the clothes that I wanted him to wear
Mhm.
or not wear. And, they took the pictures and they were the ones
Start
that
wearing,
start wearing.
finish not.
Exactly. And we got a lot of really, really good shots. Now the problem is I did a 2-day photo shoot because I am obviously doing a duet. So I needed the same guy for both covers because I want them to match.
Right.
I have over 12,000 images that I need to sort through to pick 2 covers.
Well, you got your money's worth.
12,000. Yeah, I did. But it's a lot of images. And a lot of them, they're all professional. So they all look great.
Yeah.
He had narrowed it down from even like what he had on his phone. There was like, oh, his eyes are closed or it doesn't look good. So they're all like really good images. And I'm like, I don't know how the heck I'm going to.
Do they provide any guidance based on their experience? Like the photographer would say, I would pick, these are my top 5. Or do they just
He
leave it up to you
didn't, but I'm
completely?
sure if I asked him,
Yeah, he would.
he would. But I think he was really understanding. He's worked with a lot of different authors, and the photographer was really great about, like, I want this to be like, I know how important this is to you because a lot of authors don't do this. They don't go that extra mile. They
Going all in.
Yeah, they just buy stock images. So he was like, I know this is your baby. So you pick it, you let me know, you come up with the title, we'll slap it all on there and it's gonna be great. So I have it narrowed down to like 100, which out of 12,000, I think is pretty good.
Narrowed down
Yeah,
percentage,
it's pretty
right?
good. It's just about, trying to capture the main idea for the first book versus the second.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of a challenge too, because the second book is nothing like the first book at all.
Does it also take place
No,
on the beach?
no.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We had a question.
Yes.
I want to put it up here if I can find it here. Ray had a question.
Is this Ray from earlier?
Yeah.
Good morning, Vietnam. Rest in peace, Robin Williams.
Sorry, my eyes aren't as good here.
You can read that from there.
I'm working on it. Oh, here you go. Yeah, sort of. I kind of put it together.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you then print and distribute the
hi,
book?
Karen. So you're not working with a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
How do you then print and distribute the book? Excuse my ignorance.
So no, that's actually a great question. And that's something that I'm still learning. So I will be self-publishing with Amazon. It doesn't mean that it'll be Amazon exclusive. I will still be able to get those in hardcover. I will be able to buy a box pretty much, and then I can sell them personally. I can sell them to bookstores. Like I would love to get in a couple of the local bookstores around here. And then obviously, like, you know, if you're in Vietnam and you want to buy a copy, you can buy a copy on Amazon and ship it out, or you can buy the electronic copy. The really cool thing about Amazon is if you publish with them and you sign up for their Kindle Unlimited, you get, sounds bad because it's more like money, but you get paid for the certain amount of pages that are read. So let's say somebody reads one chapter of your book, you get paid for that one chapter. You don't get paid the full price.
Not based on the download or whatever. Like
Correct. It's based on how much they read.
That's interesting.
But you know, it's one of those things where they can reread your book over and over and over again for free because they're paying for the subscription. But you keep getting that back.
Yeah.
But then it's also like if somebody reads one chapter of your book and they don't like it, you still get paid for that chapter that they read, which is kind of nice.
That is interesting.
So it'll be done pretty much exclusively through Amazon, which will, you know, be really nice because I have a book signing set up with the model for next summer. Excuse me. And that'll be really nice because this sounds really bad, but he's got like 3 million followers on TikTok. So he's kind of like Insta famous. Yeah.
So along with that, I do want to give you an opportunity to, because I was watching on Instagram when you were out there. You had created the Raven Castle Instagram, right? And TikTok, which I have, but I don't know how to use it really that well. But I mean, what is it?
You just scroll. It's easy. TikTok's easy.
So I install the app and then I turn on my phone. But I mean, you have. Can you tell them how to follow you? This is a great opportunity to, because you had a lot of fun, like Instagram stories of that happening. So
right now, all I have up and running is my Instagram, which is Raven Castle Author. If you wanted to follow me at Karen Zajac, also on Instagram, you can. I'm in the process of trying to figure out, because I don't even know how to do this. I'm going to have to hire a marketing agent. I need a website and I need an email subscription list, which would have been really nice to have before I did this podcast. But, you know, funds are limited. But I'm working on all of that because I would like to, you know, build somewhat of a fan base, hopefully, and, you know, get people excited for the book before it releases, obviously. And then, you know, get that subscription list going. So that way, you know, a lot of people surprisingly will subscribe to emails. I didn't know that. I've been talking to 2 different authors in the industry, and it's, you know, because how do I put this? Like when you look at somebody's like Instagram page and they've got 200,000 followers, well, they've probably got 1 million email subscribers. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and again, you sign up for an email, right? You know, like you sign up for a newsletter. Most of my emails that I get on a daily basis are stuff that I signed up for that I am. And this is a fact that's not necessarily pertaining to that if they're interested in it, but it's almost like you sometimes don't even read it for weeks on end, but you don't delete them, you don't unsubscribe, and then eventually you get another one that's like, oh, hey, the timing's right, and you get back into it. Yeah, exactly. John Belly was asking, we kind of already covered this. Are your books taken partly from life experiences or totally fiction? You already kind of said that it is loosely based on. I think that's very, very loosely. It's pretty much just the initial idea. I went on a spontaneous trip to Costa Rica, and I used that time to write and actually start this book. But because the trip was so spontaneous, I was like, you know what? That would make a really good premise for a romance novel about like somebody going on a spontaneous trip, meeting somebody, and everything else that happens in the book. So it's just kind of that initial like adventure aspect that really got me started. That is like related to my life, but everything that happens in the book as far as like characters and what happens, what the characters do, that's all completely fictional. And I think this is a great time. You brought an excerpt from your book, correct? I did. So I think this is a great time. That this is how many loosely based on, or very loosely based on? Very, very loosely based on. Would you mind sharing the excerpt that you brought? I think this is a great time to do it. Since how many varies? Let me find it real quick. Very, very,
very,
very, very, very,
3,
very,
4,
very,
5,
very
6.
times infinity.
I think that's just
So pretty much no.
it's a disclaimer right there. Keeping it open.
Oh man,
Do you
you guys are
attempt to
really
bring this?
no. It's fine. Just let me find it. You put me on the
So,
spot too quick. I thought I was
That
gonna have
was
more
the
time to
point,
do
and
this.
That's a great segue. John Belly, thanks for asking that question again. And thanks
Okay.
for listening.
So you guys are
You
super
may
in
wanna turn
luck.
down the lights if you guys are listening at home.
It's not. No, I'm not gonna read anything smutty. Thank you very much.
That's
Oh,
not
come on.
fun.
That's
I
how
mean,
you
that's,
sell
I
books.
thought that's all right. This is the first. No, this is the first excerpt.
The first excerpt.
I feel like if you keep talking about smut being the leading horse on This Is How. It
Okay,
Is,
okay, okay. So
if
how
you
about instead
lead
of-
in,
so-
you know,
I will read a poem that I wrote that's in this book. That is very smutty.
now or that's the second one?
I'll just read that instead.
I mean, you can lead in with what you want to read. If
No,
you want
that's
to read
fine,
it, you
that's
picked it.
I'll read. Let me. Okay.
Guys, I want to just say if you have children listening, put them to bed.
Get them closer to
And,
the mic.
or if you are having issues, and this is fine, you know, talking about the birds and the bees. If you need to have an example or just have outside voice, bringing in life experiences.
Earmuffs.
Raven Castle from the working title.
Tyler, earmuffs.
Again, so this is a poem that is written by a character in the book. Obviously, it's written by me, but it is in the book.
A character that is very, very,
Yes.
very, 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 very loosely inspired by you.
Is Evan Connery
No,
in
it's
this?
not. Yes and no. Well, just listen. Okay.
All right,
Okay.
here we go.
Oh,
You
God.
changed it a little bit.
Arousal sparks as the rain hits the window. You pull me in closer, running your hand up my thigh. Your kisses begin with my lips and venture to my neck and farther south. Anticipation building as the lightning flashes and illuminates our world. My hand on your chest, with your back against the wall. You look so beautiful as you lift me onto you. My legs wrap around you as I feel you glide in tightly. The gasp of passion escapes my breath. We sit, but only for a moment as we fully absorb each other. Moving my hips against yours, my lips are hungry on your neck with desire. Our cries of love ring into the night as we compete against the thunder.
Excuse me. I'm right back.
Yeah, I can't. Now I can't stand up.
Cold shower.
Sean, put your pants on. That is
That was beautiful.
that's very
Thank you.
good.
Thank
That
you.
is amazing.
Thank you.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
I get my wife on the phone. Can you read her that?
I'll send it to you. You read it to her. You read it to her.
When the book's out.
Oh, I got.
Oh, she's calling
She's
you right
calling.
now. Is that
No.
your wife? Oh, don't say no. That's even worse.
Yes, honey.
When do I come home? As soon as I
Who's
can.
that woman?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Jack needs you to send
Here,
that.
here's John Belly, who was.
I need an
he
audio version
commented.
just
This
as she read it.
So John says Blue Room, LOL PG-13, and the follow-up comment was, never mind.
So there's two of those really spicy poems in there that hopefully will someday be quoted. I think
How
that'd
do
be
you
really
work that
cool.
into the book, though?
So one of the characters writes. Actually, they both do. So that's kind of,
Right,
how I.
yeah.
So that's another way to get back into. Is it based off of anything in my life? Is the best piece of advice that I got was to write what you know. So I'm writing about things that I do know, but it's not like real life, if that makes sense. There's a lot about alcohol in it. Why? Because I'm a bartender. I've been in the industry for so long. So I write about, the girl making a couple different drinks and what she does with them and how they like affect them and that kind of stuff. So it's definitely, it has parts to it like that, that kind of like tie back into like who I am and like what I like. So there's a lot of what I like in this book. I mean, it's my first book, so I'm trying to really like hone into things that I know and trying to make it as authentic as possible. Again, like I want it to seem kind of realistic instead of that billionaire romance. Of course, the guy does have plenty of money naturally in the book, but it's
When you're down
not
in Costa Rica.
yeah, but it's not like it's
exotic
not
place.
100%, like billionaire style. There's
Yeah.
no helicopters, Dorian Gray, but it's fine. But yeah, so
Plains,
yes,
beaches,
yes,
mountains.
mountains are fun.
Mountains are fun. No, I think you bring up a very good point, though, when you kind of, and I don't want to take it off of your project here, but I mean, that is a huge thing that I hear a lot of the times, and when you read about how do you like there's that age old thing, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Well, that's bullshit. I mean, you're always going to work, right? I mean,
Wait a minute, that's Eric Espinosa's favorite thing.
Yeah, but he still busts his ass, and some days are better than others. That's
but
what
he
I'm
loves
saying.
what he does.
You can
He
love what
does,
you do.
and
Yeah.
I think that's my point, is that it's still going to be work. It's still going to, you're going to have bad days.
Absolutely.
Can I disagree with that?
You
Yes,
there are
you
no
are going to have a
rules.
bad day.
But you said you want to disagree with
I do
me,
want to
so-
disagree.
Well, you kind of agreed, and now you want to
No,
disagree.
but I'm going to disagree.
Yeah, Jack, go ahead.
Well,
Disagree.
you've been plying me with alcohol. I don't know where my thoughts are.
That's the fun of this podcast.
So I have a passion and a love for the cigar industry.
Sure.
I love what I do.
Yeah.
But there was one of the companies I worked for that it became a job. And I really disliked what I was doing. But it was still within this industry.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between loving and a passion and doing what you love to do.
Yeah.
Than a job. I still have a job to do. I still have numbers to meet and people to take care of, and I still have all those things I need to fulfill. But if you love what you do, it goes a lot smoother.
So
I agree.
So
Like the Dickels.
the
Dick.
Dickels.
I don't know.
Here we are. No, but Karen, explain that again about how the identity of it brings it back. So that's what I'm taking what you said, and Jack, what you have that overall passion, right? So what I'm kind of piecing this together, and you guys kind of chime in with Karen. You like literature, you like reading.
Yes.
You were gravitated towards this genre, and what really has, I guess, ignited that passion for this project is the fact that you have identity with it.
Yeah,
right?
and
So
I
you're
mean
taking from
that's very from
your
life
experiences,
experiences. Yeah.
and therefore then you're honing into those life experiences. And what I'm hearing from you, Jack, is that you have a passion for cigars and the cigar industry for sure, but that period of time, much like if Raven Castle was then like you're making it, like you've had several successful books, and all of a sudden you do get a publisher, and then now the publisher's coming at you and saying,
Making demands.
What you should do, what we want to do next with your name is this. That's where it gets tricky.
And
that's when it becomes a job, right? So now you're losing that passion, that identity that you've had with it. Now you're writing books to write books.
Right.
And
which
along
is
with
what I
that, she's
don't
making
like
making
to
money.
do. Exactly.
Along with that, she's making money.
You're
So
making
she's
money.
putting up with that, but she might not be.
Now
Exactly,
it
because
becomes
that
a
would
job.
be the job.
Now it's a
Yeah,
job.
Now it's become a
exactly.
job. Now you go back to the topic at hand, right? So it's dreams into reality. The tricky part about this, and this was not really like, I didn't write any notes down, but I'm hearing from you guys is that sometimes that reality and what people run into is that the dreams become reality, that you become successful, you feel fulfilled, but then it's everything else that comes along with it. The harsh reality comes into it. Now all of a sudden you're in this another phase. You're in this next phase of something that it's like, all right, I'm really enjoying this. And now it's like, well, there's a paycheck here. There's more success. I can get my name out there more, but now you're doing it for different reasons. The honeymoon phase is over.
You've sold out.
You can sell out.
Yeah.
Right. You guys were talking about, about in the first part about this concert that you went to, right? You know what I mean? And it's like something like that. We see that with musicians all the time, right? And in the beginning, it's just all passion. It's just all really, really core stuff, right? It's the artist side of it.
And then they offer
put
him
out an
100
album.
They
and you're
offer
like,
him
what
100
the
grand for a
fuck
chicken
was
McNugget
that?
commercial. And they're like, I'll do that.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
If anyone,
McDonald's, we're
Ronald,
waiting
if
for you.
Ronald, if you're out there.
We're waiting for you, McDonald's.
But but no, my point is that it's a very tough thing, right? So like right now, Karen, you're in this infancy stage of where you're at with this, but I mean that's always this outside threat of getting to that point where you do have success.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes when you look at this, and again, I turn to you guys, is that it comes from hobby to passion to something that you identify with, and then if you have that success, or when you have that success, how do you keep that dream that is now reality from becoming the harsh reality? How do you stay to your core?
It's difficult.
But how do you do it?
That's a book. I don't know how you do it, but I mean, there will come a moment where this will become not only a passion for her, a business, and she'll have to deal with the business side of it. As long as she can balance those two, she'll remain happy and keep
If
her
enough
creative
people buy the
side.
book.
Well, correct.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
no. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the same thing. I think this is one of the reasons that, Jack being in town, this is a great opportunity because there are passions in both of these things, and Karen being the special guest, as it says on the screen, you have a passion for cigars, you have a passion for whiskeys, you enjoy these things and all that stuff. Well, same thing, you've been in the bartender side, the bar manager side, and at some point, this passion that originally was so much fun, like, oh my gosh, like I'm making cocktails, I'm making people happy, all that stuff, and then at some point you have this obstacle, and all of a sudden it's like, this job sucks. I like what I do.
Well, she said as long as it, if it sells enough books, but if it sells enough books, she's going to get attention from publishers, and along with that attention comes demands from that publisher.
Yeah. So, and I'll say this, and
Yeah.
we'll come back to the project here. But Jack, I think having you on, I think this is a valuable aspect of this episode, is that you've gone down this in a very passion-driven industry. I mean, cigars, for example, as you guys, that are listening, I know a lot of you are listening out there for Karen as well with this, and I appreciate you, inviting a lot of your followers and everything on this. And so I don't want to take it off too much, but Jack, you've been in the cigar industry for a long time. Started with the family, and then all of a sudden things were out of your control. Now it became a job. Now all of a sudden you've landed somewhere else with Espinosa Cigars. So the Torano name is not something that you report into. Now you do personally, right? I mean, you stand by your family name, but at the same time, you're representing another family name.
Yeah.
And I've known you for a short period of time, several years, but I mean, I didn't know you back when you were with Torano Cigars originally.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the first time I met you at the 10 event, and you were with General Cigars. Super nice guy, it's like, one-on-one, very personable. Not the guy you are since then.
No.
When I've had interactions with you.
No.
I remember you up on stage at the Smoking 10 event, and I'm asking all these guys, there's probably like 8 guys on that stage, and you kind of were sitting back, and you said it tonight that it was like, sharing these boring stories and all that stuff. And I feel like I saw that in you.
Yeah.
Since then, though, because at one point on that, I will say, at one point on that stage, I actually had to say Jack. You had to answer shit at that point.
Probably.
You're just sitting there. I'm like, all right,
Probably.
got this guy sitting on stage. Well, Jack, what do you think about? And I forget the question.
Yeah.
But since then, you found the passion again. You
Absolutely.
found that stage that Karen's at right now, where you've had that identity again. You are following things that you identify with, and that you can easily just roll with. You have that passion. So how do you get past that harsh reality side when that you if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life? And when I say that's bullshit, because at some point you will.
Well, you do.
Likely.
Literally, you do work.
Likely.
You do work. But you are loving what you do, and with Espinosa, there's never a dull moment. I mean, I went to the boutique side, I went to the giant general corporate side, and now I'm back in that true boutique where you get to be more creative. You get to, your opinion means more than it does at a big company, and
you feel valued.
And I think I'm part of a great team now with Eric and his son and Hector and Richie. I think we have a great team, and it's a lot of fun going to work. So, and that was tested immensely during COVID, because the first year I worked with Eric, I probably ran into Eric 6 times the whole year, because with his travel schedule and my travel schedule, we were across the map. Then COVID hits, and we're staring at each other every day of the week for the better part of 9-10 months.
Yeah.
And we survived that well, and it's a lot of fun. And as as liquor and cigars took off, that more people were working from home, and this mini boom that happened in the cigar industry, it became a lot of fun last year, and it's a lot of fun working with Eric. It's equal parts exhausting and fun, but there's never a dull moment there. You know, there's always the creative juices flowing. People are coming up with ideas. We talked about some of those today.
Yeah.
Eric's got some great ideas.
Some
at the wrong moment, but
Some.
we all have input in this, and we all have a lot of fun working. And now being back on the road, and I mean, I think Eric trusts me enough that, you know, listen, he had a personal issue come up. He can't be at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival this year. The last minute, he just turned to me and, can you do it? No problem.
Step in.
I'm in.
So Karen, I'll ask you this, kind of in the same realm. Like you're up against a deadline, your own deadline, right?
Yes.
So have you had in this part, you know, with the Raven Castle project, if you will, I don't know how you want to phrase that, but this new venture, right? This new path in your life. Have you had that point where you feel like you have to put words down, or are you still in that honeymoon phase that you get to?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, I set my deadlines for myself because I know that I'm a procrastinator. I know that if I don't set a deadline, then, I mean, this book wouldn't have gotten written. It wouldn't be almost done. It was one of those things where I set these deadlines for myself to push myself. So yeah, I know that I have to put words down, but it's one of those things where I love it. When I'm writing, I'm happier than I could be doing anything else. Which obviously you guys know because I come into the lounge often, and that's where I would write because I can't write at home. Because when I'm at home, it's, I could be doing laundry, I could be taking care of the dog, I could be cooking, I could be cleaning, and I get too much out of my head. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I think that's something also that, what are your methods, right? So that's always a thing too, you know, and Jack, you as well. I mean, sometimes when it becomes this pressure, you got to know your methods, where you're creative, where you're the happiest. Because if your adapted life and you wake up in the morning, you don't want to go to work, you don't want to do your work, there's something off there, right? So the cons are overbearing on the pros. So if the goal is there, and if you're going back to the subject at hand of the reality into dreams, you know, or dreams into reality, it's something that I think that you really need to know what works for you. And I think, you know, Jack, that, you know, when you're in those different scenarios working with the different companies, is that it wasn't working for you.
No.
And I think for you, Karen, I mean, you say that. I mean, you've been in the shop, you've sat there smoking a cigar, because there's always something about that, right? So when you have that creative thing, and a lot of authors have had that, right? Is that it's not just you sit there in a room by yourself. It's different for everyone, but sometimes you have to keep the body busy while the mind's working. Yep. Right. So I mean, I think there's something that, again, you gotta, there's something there that if you want to take this goal in life and try to make it accomplish it, right? So you have to get that dream into reality. There is a kind of like the authors that, like, you have that sci-fi book. Yeah. You have, like, sometimes there's this story already going, or the authors that have the ending written already, they can work back. I think that's actually something practical that sometimes you can do with this type of a
comedians topic. Do that.
Oh,
comedians
sure.
do that. What's the punchline?
Well, yeah.
What's the punchline? How do I get there?
How do I get to that punchline?
But I think you have to. There's a lot of the self-assessment style there that you have to realize. When have you had the most success, and when are you the happiest, and how do you apply that to your occupation, your everyday life? How do you get to that point where you do get as close as you can to the if you love what you do saying? You know what I mean? How do you get to that? And where are you at, Karen, with this? I mean, you're getting that. You have these deadlines. How hard do you push yourself? And do you take a day off if you're not feeling it? And do you give yourself, how big of a leash do you give yourself?
There's no leash.
So
it's open. And I think that's something that I'll definitely have to keep changing, especially as, you know, I start school in 10 days. Or no, I start school next week, in a week from today.
This is nursing school,
yes.
Which is another goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So lots of things going on, you know. Anyone knows that, you know, when you go to nursing school, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. Not everyone should be able to be a nurse. I mean, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. You don't get a lot of free time when you're in nursing school. So pretty much, like, when I am in nursing school and when I'm writing, because I did it last semester as well, it's when I have a free moment where I'm not solely focused on studying for whatever exam or whatever clinical or whatever. And it's been harder because of COVID, because all of our classes are online, which makes it more difficult. Yeah. So I'm very much an in-person learner. I like to sit in a classroom, and that's how I obtain information. So for me, it's been extra hard. I'm putting in extra time, in my opinion, extra effort. to study and go over material because it's not being presented to me in a way that I am used to and
Your learning
most
style
compatible
is,
with.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when people are like, "Oh, what do you do for fun?" I'm like, "Well, I eat and sleep in my free time. Like that's pretty much it. I don't
good
have a
use
lot
of
of
time.
it is, but it's like I don't have a lot of free time. And now with like my book coming along, my free time is relaxing, and by relaxing, I'm writing. So it's
Yeah.
writing, and it's if I'm not writing, I'm in school, and if I'm not in school, I'm writing. And that's kind of going to have to be my balance because I have a year and a half left of school, which I'm going to make sure that I finish. But it's one of those things where I am planning on dropping this book. And then assuming it gains some sort of traction, I'm going to have readers that are going to want the second book.
Yeah.
So then I have a deadline for that. And then it's okay, well, what's next? I can't just take a year off. That's not how it works with a lot of these books. So pretty much I'm supposed
keeping
to
them
have,
engaged, right?
right.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm pretty much planning on having this one come out mid to late September, having the second one published right before the holidays.
Oh, wow.
And then hopefully the third one, which isn't part of the duet. But side note about a lot of romance novels is they're all kind of like in the same universe, if you will. So, you know, you have a main character. Let's say the main character's in college and he lives with 5 frat bros, or, you know, it's a woman and her 3 sisters. So then the first book will be about one of them. And then the next book is about the second one. And you get to still be part of that story where it's like, oh yeah, the people from the first book, oh, she's pregnant, of course she is, oh, they're getting married, of
They're
course,
growing
like
up, there's
they keep growing. So
continuation,
it's continuously in that same environment, in that community that you're already embedded in. And that's what I really like about the romance novels, is that there's so much history in it that you can read a 12 novel series and be within like one family.
Yeah.
And they come back full circle. And it's really cool to see how they do that in their timelines. And so that's kind of what I have planned. I have a 7-book series. This is a duet that's part of that 7-book series. So there are 5 other stories that I already have planned within this.
Are we talking spin-offs, or are we talking about just
No.
continuation?
Just not even a continuation. It's just other characters that are already within the characters of this book. So it's somebody else and then somebody else and et cetera, and it branches out. So that's already planned.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's a lot. You know, you could draw a little family tree, connect them all back.
You need like a whiteboard. You have a whiteboard?
Do we have a Sharpie anywhere?
You have a Sharpie, and there is one in the garage. I don't have a
No
whiteboard.
Sharpie.
We can
It's
use
okay.
You can use the fridge.
I know.
There's a
I'm
little
ready.
whiteboard. I don't think that's going to
Oh.
be big enough.
No, probably not, but that's okay.
You know, a lot more thought bubbles up there.
Give me like a year and then I'll have all the books and I can just lay them out for you. So.
Is this episode 170?
No, it's
No.
182.
Okay.
You guys
We
are a little
think.
off there.
We haven't used the whiteboard much.
Clearly.
Tyler, we get on that real quick, just so we don't forget.
Bro.
Awesome.
I haven't had to use the whiteboard in a while. I bought that and I used to stand back here and be like, stay closer to the mic.
Love that.
But the funny thing is, and
Yeah.
and looking at, oh Jesus,
That's your employee, right? Did you break the glass?
no, he didn't.
That's good.
Well, Ryan
He
gets me
didn't.
right in the middle of
The easiest
He
thing, and believe me, whether I'm working, whether I'm on the road, whether I'm in the office, and you're probably thinking of this book a lot of times that you're not writing.
Oh,
You're constantly thinking about it. I'm thinking cigar industry and cigars
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
Whether I'm watching a movie or I'm always looking for some sort of angle, because the most difficult thing is to name a cigar. That's the most difficult thing to do.
Why
a
is
cigar.
that?
So many names have been used.
Yeah.
So many
Well,
great names
Same
have
thing
been
with the
used.
working title, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So coming up with a name that will be catchy,
Yeah.
it is very difficult in our industry at this point of the in the
Yeah.
game. So you're constantly thinking. You're constantly,
For a cigar, smut. For a cigar, just the book.
we said we
So
talked
I'll
about
start
that.
a cigar line and it's just going to be Smut Cigars.
Smut cigars.
That would be cool. Like we
Let's
you
do
know,
it.
Do a cigar book.
Tyler
launch.
just got the
Yeah,
trademark.
So you have to have a 7
Smut.
cigar series too, though.
Oh, the cake.
A cake.
That's
Jack,
cake.
is that cake?
Yeah.
Oh.
Making the cigars is the easiest thing.
True enough.
Yeah. The easiest thing is the cigars, the packaging, the bands,
Yeah.
the name of the cigar. That's where it gets difficult. And where is she struggling with? The name of the book.
Well, with cigars, you got copyright issues.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you
Books,
will
too. I
with
think
books
there's
too.
more
And you will with
out there
books
than there are
too.
Cigars.
Yeah.
All right. So how do we translate this? Right. So do you have another excerpt?
I mean, yeah, but I can read like another poem. Like, what are you guys looking for?
This is your
This is
It's
your podcast.
Yeah, I just show. I live here.
Okay, so
I don't know why people come over here every Wednesday
I will
night, but
give you
just
guys
come home
the very first words of my book.
All right.
Holy fuck.
I'm in.
That's it. Those are the first 2 words to my entire book.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1. Holy
Is it a
fuck.
prologue or a prelogue?
No, it's
I
the
don't
prologue is different, but that's just chapter 1. Holy fuck. That's it. That's how it starts.
Another good name for a cigar.
Was it what kind of pump? Yeah.
Smut cigar line featuring holy fuck. But we'll spell it PH.
What's the punctuation on that statement? Is that a period or explanation?
It's a
question?
period. It's a period.
Period.
Just period.
Just
Holy
statement.
fuck.
Just a flat statement.
Holy fuck. Yep, just like that.
I'm intrigued.
See, there you go. That's all you need to do is intrigue your reader. Like, oh, fuck what? Like, fuck me, fuck you, fuck who? Let's figure it out.
Go fuck yourself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
Boom. Smut.
Probably with the smut.
Fuck that guy.
Literally.
And that's the jacket. All right.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you want to equate this to the rest of your life? Are we good here? I don't know. I don't know. I look at this as I've learned a lot from you guys. I mean, we can go into like closing remarks when you talk about bigger picture things, right? So obviously you've shared about the book. You're living your life a certain way. You're focused on nursing school, your job life, your personal life. Obviously the focus right now is clearly getting this book out there to the public.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the number one priority right now, besides eating and sleeping. As you
Besides
discussed.
eating, I mean, that still takes a back
Sleeping
seat.
and then eating, probably.
Eating then sleeping.
Okay, eating and sleeping. All right. But I mean, how do you guys, Jack? You too. I mean, anyone else out there? I mean, we've got some good comments, but I mean, like closing remarks, making dreams into reality.
It's hard.
What's the takeaway?
Listen, I am going to buy her book. I'm probably not going to read it, but I am going to buy her book.
Well,
Thank
that's
you.
perfect.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I certainly. I support. Hey, I sat next to that girl on what's this show called?
I don't know. I was on a
Bourbon and
That
BS.
I was in a garage on a cul-de-sac.
I was in a
So,
garage.
hey, Ohio. All right, cool.
You're not gonna believe that girl that doing those movies. I'm gonna tell you where she started.
In a garage. on
In a
podcast.
garage.
Talking about smut.
Smoking a cigar, drinking some whiskey.
Yeah, you know that smut cigar line? Yeah, that's hers. Yeah, I know, right, man? Like what?
I was there.
I
Yeah.
was there in the beginning.
Nate, do you have any closing remarks on this? Cool. Jack?
Can I do? Look,
No, you can't do that. You're on. You're
oh, I can't do an 8.
No.
No, listen.
This is a time where like closing remarks part 2 is basically it's like a summary, what you've learned, how you can apply it to everyday life type stuff. What are the takeaways that you've had from this, learning from Karen and doing what she's doing right now, especially with all the different projects, the spinning plates in the air, if you will, right?
Listen, I think it's exciting to be in Karen's shoes. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a young lady, I imagine.
Ish.
Ish.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all relative. Right?
You have a lot of big dreams, I think you're in a really good place, and hopefully all this comes to fruition. And like I said, I will certainly buy your book. Tyler's going to buy one too. He's going to read it though.
I think everyone at
Wait,
Espinosa
what?
Cigars is going to buy one.
Absolutely,
Clearly.
absolutely. I want a signed copy though. by the way.
Absolutely.
And the Espinosa produced Smut Cigar will be.
And the
you know,
Espinosa,
we've got a collaboration already
Espinosa
in
a shot
the,
at
in the
making
works
your
here
cigar
right now.
whenever that time.
Let me know. I will 100% be
You
on
know
board.
what? It could be cool to be part of the BS line.
The smut
yeah.
castle.
The BS Smut.
Yeah, we did a batshit crazy for the Murcielago.
There you go.
I love that. I love that. The batshit crazy. Raven cigar. See, I'm all
They
about
already
it.
have that. That's already out.
Ugh. I'm telling you, smut's where it's
I think
at.
Blackbird has Raven.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Makes sense
Yeah.
logically.
But no, I mean, listen, I had a lot of fun on this. I don't know what I've learned.
We'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out. But a lot of food for thought.
Mhm.
This is a lot of fun. I'm a little buzzed.
Good.
Is
That's the
always
point.
Good. I just banged my.
It is called the Bourbon and BS podcast.
Yes. Not a lot of BS though. It was a lot of good, knowledgeable stuff on this
That's
show.
true.
It's-
That's true.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tyler.
Is it?
Karen, how about you? Closing remarks?
I I mean, first of all, like, thank you for having me.
Oh,
it's
it's a pleasure,
been
absolutely.
an absolute pleasure.
Oh, yeah,
It's
thank
been
you
really
for
nice.
having me.
Too late, Jack.
Thanks for
Too late.
ruining that,
Too
Karen.
late. Go
Jesus,
fuck yourself.
I just got big.
Jack,
No.
it's been a pleasure.
What I liked about this, I will say this, Karen. Thanks for having me. You say, and Sean Anderson, who's been on the podcast down in Tennessee, he's like, wow, it's a little different tonight. And I commented, I was like, every week's different. He's like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just it's different. He's like, every week is different. You're right.
Well, and that's
And
what
he's still tuned in.
But Jack, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to, sit next to you
It was
and
fun. It
yeah.
was fun.
gossip a little and drink some bourbon. It's been awesome. I've definitely, it's good to be reminded of, don't make it work. I mean, it is work, but like, don't get so caught up into the fact where it becomes a job.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that, it sounds really bad, but if that's a problem that I run into, I'll be kind of thankful that it is, because that means that my book's doing well. And that means that that's something that I will have to tackle down the line. And hopefully I have a good plan for it. But if my book's doing, if my book's doing that well, then that's going to be a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
So, but if
And
that
you
bridge
also
ever
learned
comes,
that vodka martinis are the shit.
Well, I mean, too.
they are
That's
shit.
fine.
They are shit, not these
No,
shit.
these
They are
shit.
shit.
The
No,
shit.
they are shit.
So these shit means
No.
good.
No, they
Dirty
are
vodka
shit.
martini with
Slang.
blue cheese olives. I will be ordering that if you're ever across from me at a bar.
And I'm gonna come over and just take it. No.
Jack's gonna be like, thank you.
There you go.
Here's your tip.
That's chapter 3 of the book.
Big tip for big attitude. We talked about this. It's fine. But yeah, it's been real. I mean, this was my first podcast. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets.
Gotta love it. But yeah,
No,
it's been
I'm
great.
loving it. Jesus.
She does that really well.
She
Get that
does.
girl
She
a mic.
does. She's on point.
So Ray just threw this up there.
Steve, closing thoughts?
Thanks, Jack. Ray says it always becomes work once the money starts coming in and you get used to that life that it brings. What I like about this topic of dreams into reality is that there's a sticking point a lot of times for most people. I'm guilty of it. I think everyone at this table is guilty of it. I think everyone listening has been guilty of it at one point, and it's how you actually grow from it. Is that you want to do more? It'd be nice to have this. Wouldn't it be nice? Or you see someone that's doing really well or doing something that you like, and you're like, oh, must be nice. That statement of must be nice is used so often.
I said it earlier.
Must be fucking nice. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have that dream, if you have those goals, I think the first step is, and what I've learned tonight is, and Karen, you doing this project is that first and foremost, you educated yourself. You read a lot of books. Yeah. So you educate yourself.
67.
67 to be exact.
Not books ever, but 67 romance novels.
We're not selling you short. It was almost 70, but I mean it's 67. Three more.
I mean, I've read more since then.
Okay, good.
That was just literally 2020.
2020.
It's 2021. It's more than halfway
Is it?
through 2021. You don't want to know how many I've read this year. I don't keep track anymore.
But Amazon does.
Amazon does, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll check at the end of the year and be like,
unlimited Kindle.
okay.
But I think that's the first point. That when I'm listening to you guys talk and listening to Karen talk about this and how, so there was someone also that when they found out that Karen was going to be on, there was a comment that was actually messaged to me that said, I've been wanting to write a novel. And so I'm really interested to, and I haven't seen that person on the feed, so maybe they're going to listen later, but it's something.
Karen's on. I've been wanting to go to Costa Rica with her.
I mean, if you're buying, we can work something out. But
You got to read the book first. You don't want to disappoint.
don't get your hopes up by reading that book. Oof, man.
But my point is that first, anytime you want to do this, is that you have to educate yourself. You have to see what else is out there. You have to actually build that foundation of yeah, it's nice to have that thought when you wake up, or that thought when you're going to sleep, or the thought in the middle of the day that like, man, it would be nice to do this. But to change it from a thought of it would be nice, wouldn't it be nice, or it must be nice, is educating yourself. How do those individuals that you're looking up to, or that are doing what you think that you have a passion for, Side note, sometimes when you start educating yourself, you realize that this is not for me. And then you find another passion. But if everything hits and you educate yourself and you start learning about this craft or this occupation or this passion, you now have a basis of this foundation of how it's done. Cigars, same way, right, Jack? Same thing. You're like, oh, it'd be nice to be a cigar brand owner. It's like, yeah, but how do you make that into being a cigar brand owner? How do you make that into, yeah, you're reading these books, man. I would love to be that author that's on that book jacket, that's got that picture on the back. Like, man, I'd love to have that life. But they get there
by paying their dues.
Pay their dues. And I think that first step is educating yourself. It's learning the craft.
I would say so. But I think it's also putting in, like, it's a lot more self-discipline than you realize. The hardest thing for me has been, which nobody warned me about, nobody ever talks about it, is rereading your own work. Like I'm like 85,000 words in. I'm probably going to cap it at like 100,000. And rereading all of that takes hours to make sure that, did I already put this detail in there? Did I already say that too many times? Am I repeating myself? How am I incorporating this into the story? When you are so far away and you're so in your head and you're writing down the story and you're in your groove, you don't think about what you said in chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's like kind of the basis of the story. And you're like, are these details that I've already written or not? So it's really hard to go back and reread everything and then get back into your groove and be like, okay, I didn't put this. Do I want to put this? And then when you're rereading it, you're like, oh, I'm going to edit this. Mm-hmm. Then it's like, okay, I wasted 3 days editing instead of writing new material because I went back and I reread it. And then I have to start all over again. That's been the hardest part for me.
Which is a good point. Which leads me into that step 2, right? You build that foundation, and there's so much like that social media, side of things, that the bumper sticker style, right? It's like, work ethic, rise and grind, all that, but it's staying diligent. It's constant consistency. It's working towards that goal, but it's not just always moving forward. Mm-hmm. You see that all the time, moving forward. But you have to be your biggest critic, but also not to a self-deprecating point where you just beat yourself up. This is it's much like, and we didn't really get into it, but one of the things we talked about is when you have this like a health goal, it's like, I'd like to lose weight. I'd like to be healthier. I'd like to eat better and all that stuff. Those are very, very practical things that you can apply to something like that. Is that like, what did I eat yesterday? Am I going to allow myself to cheat today? These are the things that it's like, you do this in something like you're talking about, where you go back and you edit yourself. It's a constant self-assessment and a self-awareness side of it. Is that being diligent is not just moving forward. It's not just getting up, rising and grinding. That's the surface level part of it. But there's a big part of it is that, what am I putting out there? Am I just putting shit out there? Or am I putting content out there? Am I putting out product? Am I doing what I set out to do? So you it's that whole, in a different aspect, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That 1 step back is not always, in that phrase, is always a negative, but sometimes you take a step back to look at that, like what you're talking about, Karen. You brought that up, and that was the step 2. Is that it's something that you have to constantly just reassess what your goals are, and sometimes you'll take a left, you'll take a right. Those goals will change. Mm-hmm. So that dreams into reality. What you thought in the beginning as your dream, to make it a reality, you aren't smart enough at that point.
Right.
You don't know what it takes to get there.
But all those things are part of the journey.
It's part of the journey.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that's a big part of it. And that's how I'll kind of round this out, is that it is part of the journey. And when you have that dream starting to turn into reality, it's never ending. That's the whole thing of when it becomes work. That's when you have the success and you have those outside factors. You get used to you get accustomed to a certain lifestyle. You get accustomed to, my first book was a success. Now you're up against your biggest competition, which is yourself.
Oh, 100%.
Right. So that's how this continues, is that you hold yourself accountable and you hold yourself to this level of where you want to be. It's not just turning one dream into a reality. This is now where you get a bigger cigar line. This is when you get a bigger portfolio of novels, of published pieces, whether you're self-publishing, whether you attract attention from other publishers that have this. Now you go into it with your character in mind, of yourself.
And don't get discouraged.
And don't get discouraged. There's so many aspects of that journey, but that's where I think that, we talked about a lot of this, and I love this, and I'd love to have Karen on again once you've had 1, 2, and 3 out. You know what I mean? You're in mid process of the 7-book journey and all this like sci-fi on the side and whatever else you think about while you're smoking a cigar and drinking whiskey. You know what I mean? It's like you have all this stuff building in there, but it's like, how do you harness this mid journey is really what I want to see happen with you, everyone out there, is that this is something that these are the building blocks of something that you have to hold yourself true to where you're at now and where you want to go, so that when you're on that journey, as you said, Jack, is that you are constantly staying attentive to that journey. You don't get complacent. You don't let the outside factors overwhelm you. You don't get caught in quicksand where you're like, I gotta stay here because I'm doing well, I'm making good money, I'm doing what I set out to do, which is write books, make cigars, do whatever you guys are doing out there. But this is something that at that point you really are staying true to the origin of that journey, is that this is what I set out to do. And even if it does steer a little bit off that original path, that path should be forming in a very smart way, very educated way, and something that this is your path, no one else's. And that's where I see this going forward, is that you have to, as long as that journey's still going, you're still pushing yourself to be what you want out of that.
Listen, no matter a musician, an actor, an athlete, they didn't set out to be stars. They set out to polish their craft and become good at what they do, and they paid their dues.
Yeah.
I see a lot of kids that pick up an instrument, but they don't want to be a musician. They want to be a rock star.
Yeah.
And it takes time to do that.
Yeah.
It takes time to be Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
It takes time to be the top actor in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pay your dues. And
what you hear a lot of in those stories, when they crash and burn with success, is that you don't want to forget who you are during that journey.
And very few are able to reinvent themselves, and they do.
Yeah.
Some of them do. Some of them fail miserably afterwards. But if you rise too quickly, you're going to fall that quickly.
You're absolutely right.
So
with that's my closing remarks. I want to thank our sponsors, Tinderbox at Easton,
McDonald's,
Ronald, again, if you're out there.
Chicken nuggets, please.
Chicken McNuggets, if you want to have a sponsor, you want to say it right.
McNuggets, please.
Jesus.
I'm McLovin' it.
Get a mic on that girl. Tinderbox at Easton, thank you for the Murcielago. Jack, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank
with
you,
the
guys.
Murcielago by
Mhm.
Espinosa Cigars. I want to thank Altadis USA. I'm enjoying this aging room, Nicaragua. That is also AJ Fernandez. They did a great job with that. It has a high accolades. BS Cigar Company. I got BS Gold on deck here as well. The silver is made by Espinosa Cigars. Check them out. If you guys are looking for any of the cigars, whiskeys, if you have any questions about anything, if you're looking for Karen's contact information, always you have the Bourbon and BS community page on Facebook. You also have the Bourbon and BS podcast through Instagram, Facebook, and just there's so many avenues that you guys can get this information. And we look forward to seeing what you do in the future, Karen.
Thank you.
And Raven, excuse me.
Either or at this point.
Either or at this point.
The book's
And then
not
also patreon.com. We had a big winner tonight. And thank you for your support, everyone out there. And also, like I said, we're going to get some more merchandise out there. And thank you, Jack, for that raffle prize tonight. Guys, enjoy your week. Hope you guys learned something tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we will absolutely on the community page and the podcast information when this novel
drops.
When the smut
drops. When smut drops.
Put a poll out there.
It's a good title. When smut
genre
drops.
should this be in? Yeah, we'll definitely post that and keep everyone posted on that. So thank you guys very much. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wait, I got something to tell you.
Yay.
Jack, Karen, thank you very much. Nate,
Cheers, guys.
everyone in the audience, all you guys out there, you guys have been amazing. Thank you very much. Enjoy your week. We'll see you guys next week.